Do we see a double? We see a Protect Shield for the Alolan Ninetales, and look at these charms just applying pressure. Another Hydro Cannon comes through.
Yeah, that Swampert able to get to 2 Hydro Cannons very quickly thanks to just how much energy Mudshot will generate for that Pokemon, and also will use both of the shields for Tomahawk. So this Ninetales is in the red, does have a couple of charged moves available to it at this point. I believe it hit both the Weather Ball and the Psychic type charged move on its side of the field. But this Lickitung is at such full health, it's going to be able to take one of these pretty comfortably.
Oh, this is a great use for Lickitung, just absorbing all this damage. But look at how important Switch Advantage was here for Adelian. He does have that Medicham in reserve, but now that Tomahawk can control alignment, he can easily send out that Trevenant. This is going to be a critical decision here once this Alolan Ninetales finally faints.
Weather Ball from the Alolan Ninetales will force the use of the last shield as Lick connects the KO. Now it's the Galarian Stunfisk on the field to take a Power Whip from the Swampert, but more importantly in the back is that Medicham. It's at full health, it swaps in, and the Trevenant back to face off against it.
Now, as we know, these Shadow Claws and Shadow Ball are going to be super effective against the Psychic type Medicham. Medicham looking a little bit spooked here, but going to try to deliver an Ice Punch and deal some super effective damage and stay in this matchup. But that Shadow Ball is impending, gathering some extra energy, knows the counts, knows the energy, delivers a strike here. The Shadow Ball will be more than enough to secure the knockout.
Definitely. This Trevenant, such a incredible Pokemon, like you mentioned, possibly from the Halloween events of yore, just doing an incredible job to pick up that knockout, and now this Power Whip will be enough to secure the knockout against the Lickitung Tomahawk UK. Again, winning this set 2-0. There have been so many 2-0 matches here today.
And it's so tough because sometimes they feel very dominant, but if you really get into the granular aspects of these matchups, it could have gone either way. I think losing Switch Advantage for Adelian there was really tough. Unlike VG, you only have one Pokemon on a field at a time, and Gabby, I know you've seen this as well. A lot of these matchups come down to alignment and playing your way out of tricky situations.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Adelian, the alignment just didn't seem to work out there, but a very well job done. Good, well job, all those words.
It's all good and well.
It's all good and well here at the World Championships, because even if you lose, you're still here. You're still in the hall playing on the stage with this incredible energy. The hall is absolutely buzzing with all these amazing matchups we have going on today, and we just have more and more coming along.
I'm really excited, Gabby. I wanted to ask you, we've seen a lot of unique Pokemon. For example, Araquanid, as the meta continued to shape up through the North American regionals and internationals, we saw Araquanid really bubble to the surface when that Pokemon was released, and then kind of simmer back down once we saw more of the Talonflames, more of the Shadow Kanto Ninetales, really kind of burning it out of the meta. What do you think of this resurgence of the Water Spider Araquanid?
It's an interesting call to make. I mean, going into a tournament like this, having access to Bubble Beam and Lunge certainly will give you a team advantage that you otherwise would not have access to. You know, those attack drops are huge, and you know, possibly could also be in response to maybe predicting more Obstagoon making an appearance, as it was just Community Day Pokemon last weekend, I believe. But still, I think it is sort of in response to how the metagame has rotated. You know, maybe players made the call beforehand. Talonflame did really well. Kanto Ninetales did very well at the North American International Championships. I don't think it's going to be here at Worlds. You know, I think that we've seen it do its job. I think that it's time for the metagame to rotate, and as a result, I think we're seeing some great calls and some great plays from Araquanid, which, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here. I feel like there was a lot of potential when it first was released, but because we were still in that like Talonflame, Ninetales sort of format, it didn't really get to shine, but yet here we are today.
No, you're exactly right, especially the Vancouver regionals. The trainers there really turned up the heat. Lots of Talonflames, lots of good Kanto Ninetales, and lots of Shadow Alolan Marowak, which we have not seen yet today. I'd love to see that hit the field. I think Araquanid is so powerful, and I think trainers recognize, like you said, when it first arrived, this Pokemon has the potential to beat Swampert. It can beat the Walreins, it can beat the Obstagoons, just resisting the counters, dealing back that super effective bug bite over time. But the thing with Araquanid is that it doesn't hard win a lot of matchups. Every time it hits the field, the bug bites kind of chew away at a Pokemon, but it's a very slim margin of error there. If you make a wrong shield call, or if you throw too many Bubble Beams or not enough Bug Buzzes, it can be a tough matchup to win. So each of these Pokemon have a unique element, and these trainers really have to master these play styles and kind of switch up their team, make it diverse. Maybe have those one-turn fast bug bites, maybe have 5-turn incinerate, kind of change up their fast attacks and charge attacks to remain dynamic and explosive.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned play types too, because I feel like everybody has their own preferences. You know, when I play the video game series, I tend to like bulky, slow Pokemon. You know, I like sort of playing the mind games a bit more than some other people may be favor. But in Pokemon Go, you know, yes, everything happens so fast, but you do have these different play styles. You know, you have the like super offensive leads to an immediate safe switch, so that you can sort of take advantage of how that aligns and, you know, have that bulk sort of supporting you. You have the wait and see what my opponent does type play styles. And I'm curious, how would you classify your play style when playing in the Go Battle League?
That's really interesting. I think some
अगर अभी स्ट्रीम बंद होगा तो कल करेंगे फिर, क्योंकि कल किंग वगैरह सबका मैच है यार। अभी साउंड सही है। कितने कोड अभी तक मिल गए हैं टोटल? 4-5 मिल गए हैं माही। एक तो टी शर्ट वाला एक है बस, और जो सारे हैं वो टाइम रिसर्च वाले हैं। ये जो मिल रही है ड्रेपियन, स्वैम्पर्ट और स्टनफिस्क वाली। मुझे कीवी ही मिला भाई। ये लोग कितने कमेंट्री कर रहे हैं, गेम कब स्टार्ट होगा, बोर हो रहे हैं। हाँ, थोड़ा करना पड़ता है, हर गेम में होता है डायरेक्ट। अपनी भाषा में होता तो शायद हमको और ज़्यादा मज़ा आ रहा होता, क्या पता। कोई नहीं, हम बीच बीच में ही खेलेंगे। अब अगर स्ट्रीम बंद हुई तो कल करेंगे। कल सारे वो वाले बंदे हैं, मतलब किंग वगैरह जो सारे रीजनल फाइनल पहुँच के आए हैं यहाँ पर, ठीक है। आई थिंक ये कॉल करेगा अगर मैं फ्यूरी कटर मारूंगा ना। रिडीम कोड से कुछ टाइम रिसर्च मिल रही है क्या? हाँ हाँ मिल रही है। आपने एक भी नहीं ली क्या? एक भी नहीं ली क्या आपने? सही में ऋतुराज भाई, एक कोड आप प्रोवाइड कर देना, मैं पिन कर दूंगा यार। जो भी स्ट्रीम पर है यार, वेलकम टू द स्ट्रीम। जिसने टाइम रिसर्च नहीं दी है, नया कोड आ चुका है, वो ले लेना भाई। लिपिका जी हाय। लिपिका जी नहीं तो कर लो, 3 स्टार पीस मिल रहे हैं और उसके थर्ड पेज में एक रेड पास भी मिल रहा है। सेम टाइप के ले जा रहा हूँ, इस पर आइस पंच होगा, दिक्कत हो जाएगी हमको। वो भाई शील्ड अच्छा, थैंक यू। हाँ भाई, जो भी स्ट्रीम पर है यार, वेलकम टू द स्ट्रीम। स्ट्रीम सेकंड, दूसरी स्ट्रीम है आज की। मेन सारे जो खेलेंगे, जो क्वालिफाइड बंदे हैं, सब कल खेलेंगे, जो रीजनल क्वालिफाई करके आए हैं। और भाई ऐसा नितिन भाई है क्या? अरे बेहतरीन नितिन भाई, वेलकम टू द स्ट्रीम। नितिन है क्या ये? ओह अपना नितिन है ये तो, क्या बात है। डायरेक्ट टी शर्ट रिडीम नहीं किया है तो पब्लिक चैट से लेना। हाँ टी शर्ट रिडीम कर लो अगर नहीं किया तो यार। अभी जैसे ही मैं टूर्नामेंट स्टार्ट होगा ना, मैं गेम बंद करके बाकी अपना गेम लगा देंगे भाई हम। हाँ भाई, क्या हाल है नितिन भाई? अभी कहाँ है? एंड दैट वाज अ गुड गेम। अभी शुरू नहीं हुआ ना, अभी शुरू नहीं हुआ, अभी कमेंट्री चल रही है। 1.4 के वॉचिंग चल रही है, लोग गाली दे रहे होंगे। मैच शुरू करो भाई, मैच शुरू करो। कल से मजा आएगा यार ऋतुराज भाई, सारे तगड़े बंदे रहेंगे। और मैं आज चाहता हूँ, आज मैं देख रहा हूँ जिनरी अगर आए, डैनियल जिनरी, तो उसके लिए और अपना 2 जीत जाए यार, पहुँच जाए यार वो कल। पोकी एक का देख के रैंक 1 है ये। मैंने वीडियो दो तीन जनों को देखी, सब वो यूज़ कर रहे थे। पोकी के भी उसमें से एक था। सही बात है। कोमो हाँ भाई, मिडल एवोल्यूशन। ओ भाई नितिन कब आ रहा है मिलने? पहचान लिया हमने तो। अभी भी खा रहा हूँ मैं तो। ग्रेट लीगा फाइटिंग कब चला रहा हूँ मैं, ये देखो। बट साइकिक नॉट अलाउड। बैकग्राउंड अच्छा लग रहा है, बहुत सही लग रहा है, सही कह रहा है। मैं बोलने वाला था ये चीज़। नितिन और मेरा पता क्या था, चैट में बंदे हैं हम भाई कैंटीन में ना दही तोड़ते थे, मतलब चैलेंज लगता था भाई खाने का, कौन ज़्यादा खाए। वो मेरे से पार्टी मांगता था, मैं उससे। अभी मैच शुरू नहीं हुआ है। हाँ भाई ऐसा ही है। अब दोनों सोचते थे आज ये उड़ा है, आज ये उड़ा है। ये तो गेम था सारा। सीएमपी नहीं है, सीएमपी है क्या पता नहीं। एंड भाई मेरा टीम टॉप 10 रैंक में आगे कौन सा वाला, ये तो राज भाई। ओके स्विच ले गए हम शील्ड के साथ, पीछे ना हो। अब यार यही है, मैं कह रहा था ये ना हो यार। रजिस्ट्रियल मेडी, हाँ हाँ बहुत सही यार। बट आप तो कुछ भी चला रहे थे यार ऋतुराज भाई। एराक्विनेंट लीड चला रहे थे आप तो बस। कल शाम में लंदन में भर भर अनाउंस में। हाँ भाई पता है मेरे को, मेरा उस टाइम पे मोबाइल गड़बड़ कर रहा था। ऋतुराज भाई और मैं बात कर रहे थे यार, ये ख़राब हो गया मोबाइल मेरा, ख़राब है ये सब। हाँ उन्हीं में से। हाँ एरेक्विनेट रजिस्ट्रियल बढ़िया है यार। रजिस्ट्रियल थोड़ा अच्छा भी हो तो ज़्यादा अच्छा है मेरे पे, बट उस पर जैप कैनन नहीं है मेरे पे। 110-13 का एक मैं भी बना लूँगा। लक्की रेजी रैंक 1 एरेक्विनेट। लक्की रेजी क्यों ना रहे हो बट ये बताओ माही। अच्छा ग्रेट में थोड़ा सा देख लो यार, मैं बताऊँ माही 0-3-0 भी मिल जाए ना तो भी बना लो। 0 अटैक मिल जाए ना, या 1 भी मिल जाए तो भी बढ़िया। 5 के अंदर ये अटैक रखो यार। सीएम पे तो जिता देगा, एक अर्थक्वेक में फैल जाएगा भाई, वो स्वयं पट गया। बेलरन के भी शायद। एंड दैट वाज अ गुड गेम। खाते खाते खेलने में मजा आता है। मैच शुरू हो गया, चलो मैच पे लगाते हैं, आ जाओ। अब मेरी आवाज़ थोड़ी धीरे आएगी, ये थोड़ा ग्लिच है तो सह लेना यार, मेरी आवाज़ थोड़ी कम आएगी ठीक है। आराम से जब बैटल कंप्लीट हो जाएगी फिर बातचीत करेंगे।
Swampert make a fantastic core on Bestia Max's side of the field, but in order to guarantee that alignment, you really have to have your matchups locked against the Registeel and the Shadow Kanto Ninetales. And the only way I see Inadequance pulling that off would be in a Swampert Shadow Venusaur line, which doesn't feel comfy. Like that definitely feels a little bit risky as Metacham. I feel like you just need something there that's a little bit more bulky.
boosted है ऋतुराज भाई।
Find a way to make the Lickitung work as a possible alternative, then maybe that's the line you go with in this game 1, but you really only bring that Venusaur if you're absolutely confident that you can protect it and get the alignment that it needs.
Well, speaking to what is on those team sheets and what is not, we do not see a counter user there for Bestia.
अगर Wally 9
will come out to play as we head to the field here. We do have Lickitung on the left side versus Swampert on the right. Generally, Lickitung does get the favorable matchup here, but let's see if we see a switch out or if these trainers want to trade some blows.
Yeah, that Swampert is going to get to that first Hydro Cannon and possibly even to a second, throwing the Earthquake here, and that Lickitung not going for the shield just quite yet. Again, it is a very bulky Pokemon, so even though it takes a ton of damage, it is able to hold on and keep this energy for the Arachnid that now switches in.
Now look at this counter swap here by Bestia Max. He does deal a lot of chip damage to Lickitung and then switches in the Arachnid. And as we mentioned, there are very few hard answers to this Pokemon, and now one of his best answers in Lickitung is very weak, trying to square off against the water and bug type Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't even think Lickitung can go for the power whips confidently here, as there's so many shields in play. You just want to guarantee as much damage as possible. And if you can throw 2 body slams instead of 1 power whip, you take that. You get that second body slam, and it looks like the Araquanid is still not shielding.
Araquanid is still on the field, doesn't need any of those protect shields to win this matchup, but it was a charge move priority, and this is a little bit unfortunate, but we do see the Bug Buzz get delivered here, and Araquanid has done its job, taking down one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the Open Great League. Here comes Medicham, and this is a tough counter down.
Yeah, it's going to take a few turns, and the Bubble Beam was almost reached by that Araquanid, but that Medicham able to knock it out and get some energy queued up. If the Swampert comes back in, I imagine a Ice Punch will be thrown almost immediately here. But Bestiamax still has these 2 shields, and I think it's time. You got to start using them.
I just want to point out as well that this was a really tough situation. You could have brought in either the Pokemon, but making a read on the back line, Bestiamax aligns that Fire-type Pokemon against the Venusaur. What a critical call there to send in the Swampert.
Yeah, Bestiamax saving these 2 shields for the Shadow Kanto Ninetales, it looks like, which it's a very frail Pokemon. It really does appreciate having that extra bulk.
The Embers finally burned down that Venusaur off the field. Here comes a Medicham, though, with 2 protect shields, but this Kanto Shadow Ninetales looking to strike back here with some Weather Ball pressure.
It's going to take a couple of Weather Balls, that Medicham waiting until the last second to throw that shield. We have Ice Punch and Psychic of the moves of choice here. Ice Punch probably goes for the throw. It's a little bit less energy in terms of cost, and it is resisted. So now you just try and build up to a big Psychic, or maybe just hope you can counter it down.
Now what's really tough here is that this, oh my goodness, Shadow Kanto Ninetales has 2 Weather Balls. It's going to deliver this first one, so even though there's still a Protect Shield remaining, Inadequates is really outpaced in terms of energy. Looking for an Ice Punch here, but he's only got maybe 1 or 2 HP on the Medicham.
Yeah, that Medicham needed a second Ice Punch in its arsenal in order to take on this Swampert, which is the last Pokemon in Bestiamax's side of the field. Instead, Mudshot will do the damage to knock out that Medicham, and as a result, Bestiamax taking game 1 in the set.
Now, some trainers at home might be wondering why we didn't see that Protect Shield get deployed from Inadequates. He still had 1 shield remaining, but we did point out that the Shadow Kanto Ninetales had gathered enough energy for 2 Weather Balls, so even if you deploy that Protect Shield, your opponent does get the second Weather Ball. But that Swampert matchup in the very end was very close, just 1 counter away from being KO'd. And I think that's a testament to the skill of these trainers as well. I mean, you saw that alignment in the 3rd matchup of the Shadow Venusaur versus Shadow Kanto Ninetales. Very, very uphill, but Inadequates still making that matchup quite close.
Yeah, and going into this game too, I'm very curious what the adjustments will be, as it felt like Lickitung and Venusaur were really quite comfortable in that matchup. Again, that Medicham is such a cool Pokemon. It gets access to great typing, and certainly would have been an incredible call had that Registeel made an appearance, but it did not. And as a result, Medicham really kind of struggled to bring the win home. I feel like this is the adjustment you have to make. If your opponent adjusts to Registeel, you call that, you bring the Medicham again. But you have to acknowledge that now in this team preview phase, you know, you have to look at how that match played out and just ask yourself, will my opponent adjust? Will my opponent bring Registeel?
No, you're exactly right. And we see kind of fail-safes and variability built into these teams of 6. Into their DNA. We do see that Registeel and the Shadow Kanto Ninetales versus the Alola Ninetales and the Venusaur on the opposing side. You basically have 2 choices. And I think Inadequates again calling out the Registeel, did not get his wish, instead got the Shadow Kanto Ninetales. So like you just mentioned, Gabby, I think the adjustment here is critical. Do you think your opponent will change things up? Are they comfortable where they are? Will they run the same team? Because that's always an option too. Just run the same team 2 games in a row.
I don't know, it's a tough call to make, and especially at a critical tournament like this Last Chance qualifier where your Worlds invite is on the line. You really have to be careful with these calls, and I think that Registeel is such an interesting Pokemon to look at on this team because the pressure that it applies isn't just because of Zap Cannon, isn't just because of Focus Blast. Just seeing it in team preview is enough to alter the Pokemon that you bring to a matchup, and that gives you an advantage in its own way.
It does, absolutely. The Iron Pokemon is very visible, and it does stand out on the team composition. But we are getting queued up here. Our trainers are locked in and ready to go. Tournament life on the line. We see the Lickitung into that Araquanid matchup.
Okay.
All right, it looks like Inadequate's brought the same 3 Pokemon as the last matchup. The only adjustment is going to be on Bestiamax's side of the field, but it's not the Registeel. Again, bringing enough pressure on its own. Before we get to that adjustment, though, this Lickitung is going to start throwing these body slams to try and whittle down the Araquanid's health to try and get it within range of a KO from the Pokemon in the back of Inadequate's side of the field.
We've seen Araquanid be so powerful. It can get the better of the Lickitung here, but it needs to land this Bug Buzz. This is a critical call by Inadequates, and he does shield. Does a defense drop occur, though? No, it does not. Lickitung is in the clear, looking to deliver another attack, but here comes a switch in to Walrein, and we see a slow switch there into the Medicham. How do you feel about this counter swap?
Yeah, Inadequates, I think, finally finding a favorable alignment for this Medicham, as these quick attacks will be doing super effective damage, but Bestiamax throwing an Earthquake here that is unshielded, that does so much damage. Inadequates will have the opportunity to throw a charge move here, but has to go for the Psychic. Bestiamax still has 2 shields, and if he doesn't go for a shield here, that's going to be a knockout, but will give him the opportunity to try and realign.
That's an interesting metagame play there as well. Going for the Psychic when that Walrein is just outside of Ice Punch range and does deliver the knockout. Here comes the Araquanid, though, deciding to no Protect Shield this Bubble Beam. I think a couple more Bug Bites will be needed to KO, but Medicham might just get to the Psychic, and it claps its hands here in just a moment to deliver a strike to this Araquanid.
Yeah, even though its attack has been lowered 1 stage, Psychic is such a powerful move that is a guaranteed knockout onto that Araquanid, and now Swampert is the last Pokemon standing for Bestiamax. And look who's waiting in the back of Inadequate's party. That is going to be the Shadow Venusaur, and this is just a great lineup here for him.
This is really difficult here. We do see that Protect Shield just shoring up the win, and we're going to see a unique circumstance here as well. I'm going to bet you here no Protect Shields will be deployed. I don't think Inadequate even throws a charge attack. He goes straight for the Vine Whips. 2 shields in the bank, and it's a shame you can't carry that over to the next battle.
Yeah, you got to spend your shields while you have access to them. As much as I would love to have a 3 shield situation, the only way you can really do that, I guess, is if you have a Pokemon in the back to try and take one of those charge moves for you. But, you know, Shadow Venusaur is so powerful, able to win that match on its own, does not need the charge moves, can just go for those grass-type fast move attacks. And, you know, going into this game 3, if you're Bestiamax, you're looking at a grass-type Pokemon, you're looking at how scary it is. You know what resists grass and poison? It's the Registeel. I mean, it's still there. It's still a threat in Team Preview, but will this be the time where we see it take the field?
And this is yet another layer of strategy that we see come to fruition as these best of 3s go on, especially when you get to game 3. Sometimes you bring 1 or 2 or even 3 counters to a prominent Pokemon on your opponent's team. You dissuade that Pokemon from appearing, and then in that 3rd game, that Pokemon shows up and makes an impact. So will we see that here, or will this adjustment be enough to keep the Registeel off the field? I think these trainers are tinkering around with their lineups. I don't know, Gabby. I feel like you would bring the Iron Pokemon here.
I would, but I have a philosophy when it comes to competitive Pokemon, and that is if a Pokemon is very good and you can see the opportunity to play it, you just make the play. Especially in a game 3 situation. You know, the mind game has already been set up. Your opponent's been asking themselves constantly, will the Registeel show up? Will the Registeel show up? At this point, you know, they're probably questioning themselves. Like, well, it hasn't shown up. Maybe there's a reason why it won't show up, and that's when you decide, okay, I'm going to send it in now and take advantage of that. The interesting thing about Bestiamax's team as well is that I feel like you don't have to necessarily need the Registeel, which I know a lot of trainers will feel pressured to do, so that could be another way to sort of catch your opponent off guard. You know, you bring it, but you don't even need it. You don't show it until the last possible second, or possibly after your opponent's already switched and locked into a favorable matchup for a considerable period of time. And then it's Registeel time, baby.
इसके बाद
there it is.
10 मिनट लगेगी
see that Shadow Kanto Ninetales dominate the matchup against Shadow Venusaur in game 1, kind of trying to scare it off the field. And then we saw the double down on that Shadow Swampert in game 2, and it did not pay off because Venusaur was not going anywhere, came in game 2 and was able to secure the knockout. So again, these trainers trying to decide, should I stay, should I go, what should I bring to the battlefield here? It's a very tricky situation to be in for sure. One of our trainers is certain though, they have already locked in their their team, and some final adjustments here on the right. Again, I want to emphasize these trainers will take some time to think things over. They think, if I lead this Pokemon and I encounter Registeel, what do I switch to? How do I play out the matchup? Do I gather some energy and then switch? Do I kind of stay in that matchup? How do I adjust and respond to whatever lead I might see? So we see kind of the game being played out mentally before it even starts.
Do you want a fun science fact while we're waiting for these trainers to get started?
Sure.
From the time it takes you to think something to the time that it takes for your body to react, it's about half a second. Now, if you could just refresh my memory, how much time does it take for a turn in Pokemon Go? Is it about half a second, I believe?
A single turn in Pokemon Go is half a second.
Exactly, so that is just how much time you have to be thinking ahead. And if you are able to sort of take this time in between the matches to pre-program, if you will, to visualize how you want that matchup to go, to visualize your switches, to visualize your charged moves, it's already there waiting in your brain so that you can execute just that much faster. And it's so cool to watch these trainers sort of watch that play out, watch their thoughts execute on the field as we're going into this Game 3. Alolan Ninetales out on the field versus a Sableye. Such a tough matchup. Instant swap into Walrein and now a Galarian Stunfisk.
Incredible adjustments by both trainers here, but Inadequance does get the better of the lead situation. Now, Walrein can win this matchup against the Galarian Stunfisk, but it needs to land that super effective Earthquake chance as we see that super effective Rock Slide just pile onto that Ice type rain.
Well, the Walrein has enough energy for an Earthquake, but instead going for the Icicle Sphere, possibly trying to catch this Stunfisk off guard and get one of these valuable Protect Shields out of play. Walrein will have to invest a shield in now if it wants to take this Rock Slide, but Bestiamax is only a couple of turns away from a second Earthquake, at which point Inadequance again has to ask himself this question. Will it be Icicle Sphere or will it be Earthquake? Icicle Sphere. Will Inadequance go for the second shield?
This is such a critical call, and we see the shield again, double baits with the Icicle Spear. That would just be some neutral damage there, but we do see the Rock Slide coming through here. And the second Protect Shield coming up. This is a
already these trainers investing their shields. There are no more shields in play, and that Walrein just had that Earthquake on standby. This will be enough to knock out that Galarian Stunfisk and force Inadequance to switch in. It looks like the Swampert is the Pokemon of choice, but that's going to take so long to knock out the Walrein with those fast moves. There's time for an Icicle Sphere, possibly even a second.
Now, Swampert does have the higher attack, so will win a CMP event if it does come to it, but it gets the Mud Shot down, doesn't even need to throw a Hydro Cannon. But look at this alignment now. This is so tricky because the Sableye comes out, and that Alolan Ninetales is poised to land against a steel wall here in a few moments. But let's see if Swampert can kind of Hydro Cannon its way out of this matchup.
Well, the nice thing about this Swampert is it does already have 2 Hydro Cannons locked up, which means this Sableye will be knocked out. But if you have one Pokemon remaining on your side of the field for this match that your whole match relies on, if it's the Registeel, you are not out of options. The Swampert does get to the Earthquake first, but you are almost at full health. You can take one of these.
Exactly right. You see the Earthquake come through here, but this is going to be pivotal because even though that's a lot of damage, it's not enough to knock out, and Swampert looking for another charge attack, but Registeel will strike first. And look at this situation now, Gabby. We have an Alolan Ninetales, which traditionally fears the Registeel, but it's going to come in here, and it's going to really apply some charm.
All right, well, goes for the undercharge against that Swampert as well, but one charm is all that's needed to knock out that Registeel.
अच्छा खेला यार वो. अब उसका इतना गंदा हार्ड काउंटर होगा तो क्या कर सकता है. बहुत सही खेला यार उन्होंने. जो डबल बेट लगाई ना, डबल बेट जो करी उनने, वो बहुत सही थी यार. ऋतुराज भाई बंदा बढ़िया खेला. बस वो स्वैम्पर्ट आ गया ना, वो भी एक अर्थक्वेक के लिए नहीं गया, समझदार था. हम तो अर्थक्वेक के लिए आते क्योंकि अभी आधा घंटा लगा. जी इस भाई बढ़िया था यार मैच तो. अभी आधा घंटा लगेगा यार ऋतुराज भाई. और फाइटिंग कप अभी तक तो ऐसा लग रहा है लिटिल कप खेल रहा हूँ, टैंक नहीं है ना पोकेमोन में। अभी आवाज़ क्लियर होगी मेरी, है ना? पंद्रह मिनट का ब्रेक। देखते हैं अली स्ट्रीम कब तक चलती है। चार्जिंग पे नहीं लगाऊंगा अभी, लेट लगाऊंगा। अभी मिल जाएगा मैच। पंद्रह मिनट का ब्रेक। न्यू कोड आ चुका होगा ना? रिडीम कोड आ गया होगा यार। अगला आएगा 5 मिनट बाद, ऑलमोस्ट 5 मिनट बाद 29 पे आएगा। काफ़ी उम्दा ख़राब लीड कह सकते हैं इसको। डायरेक्ट एरियलाइज जाते हैं यार। आई थिंक ऋतुराज भाई ठंड में ना स्ट्रीम ज़्यादा अच्छी हो पाएंगी, पता नहीं क्यों, बट ऐसा लगता है मेरे को। थ्रो पे कैच किया है भाई, थ्रो पे। फास्ट मूव डैमेज। शील्ड तो मिल ही जाएगी, पता नहीं पॉइजन स्लज बॉम्ब कैच ना कर ले यार, बट ये भी दिक्कत है। पॉइजन अगर कैच कर लिया तो मैच खराब। टैग गेमिंग हेलो। अगर इनने स्लज बॉम्ब कैच किया ना, खेल खत्म है भाई, खत्म। हो मड बॉम्ब। अभी खत्म है खेल, खत्म। जी भाई। गड़बड़ हो जाती भाई। ऋतुराज भाई इसका सेकंड राउंड भी आज ही होगा ना? बंदे आ तो चुके हैं, किसी भी टाइम मैच शुरू होने वाला है। देखता हूँ यार मैं भी इतने क्या करना है। बंदे आ चुके हैं स्टेज पर यार, मैच लगा लें। कई बार आधा घंटा लगा देते स्टेज पे भी। सीओसी खेलते हो? सीओसी
Jack Rowe with the Galarian Stunfisk, Shadow Venusaur, Shadow Swampert, Shadow Walrein, Purified Sableye, and Blend Ninetales.
Shadow Pokemon, how about make it 3? And these are 2 starter Pokemon as well, as we do see the Venusaur and Swampert appearing there on the screen. This is a very interesting matchup as well. You think of Shadow Pokemon as being a little more offense-oriented. Shadow Pokemon show up time and time again, but it also affects these matchups quite critically. Maybe you can't absorb a second foul play from the Sableye, for example, if you are a Shadow Walrein. Maybe you can if you're the regular Walrein. So these trainers know how these matchups are going to go, and they try to put themselves in positions to succeed. What critical Pokemon do you think will appear for both of these trainers? I gotta say, the Swampert is going to come to play.
You know, I have to agree with you. I think the Swampert as well for both these trainers, and then the Lickitung and the Shadow Venusaur, the grass-type Pokemon, if you will also be key to feature in this matchup. I find it very, very curious that Jack Rowe is running 3 Shadow Pokemon as well. You know, those Shadow-type Pokemon, or Shadow ability Pokemon, if you will, do have a 20% attack bonus, but it does come at a cost of their defense. And having half of your Pokemon have that defensive drop is certainly a very risky play to make. You know, yes, you have the bulk of the Sableye to back you up, and Galarian Stunfisk can be pretty bulky as well, but I hope this is a confidence read from Jack. You know, these are the Pokemon that he understands, that he knows how to make work, and as a result, you know, can be successful despite, you know, the lack of defenses relatively.
No, I absolutely agree. When you look at a team that has half of its roster being that Shadow variant, it's really difficult to allocate shields correctly because you take a lot of damage from your opponent's attacks, and you might want to invest in your Shadow Swampert. You might think Swampert is the key to this matchup, but then you might not see that opponent on the other side that you wanted to align against. You might say, oh my goodness, I spent both of my Protect Shields on Swampert, and now I'm just exposed, and the rest of my team is going to take a lot of damage. So it's really difficult to kind of decide who to provide those Protect Shields to, and what your key Pokemon is. Again, as we kind of explore these different teams and players, we get an insight into these different skill kind of areas that these players have tried to develop, predicting teams, managing energy, shield allocation. There's so much that goes into Pokemon Go PvP.
Yeah, and even though a trainer may have 4 out of the 6 Pokemon the same on their side of the field, maybe even 5 just because they're the same Pokemon doesn't mean they're going to be played the same way. You know, you have to look at a trainer's personal biases and how they approach the matchup as well. Which I think is really going to come to play here because there's just so many different positioning options you have. You know, knowing that Jack Rowe has the Shadow variant of the Swampert and the Walrein, and Young has the normal one, you know. And I feel like that almost gives Young the advantage just because he will be able to sit in those matchups maybe a bit more comfortably than Jack will. And, you know, when I think about Swampert and Walrein as well, you know, I feel like if they're in a mirror situation, you know, Shadow Swampert versus Swampert, Shadow Walrein versus Walrein, they're not really able to hit each other too hard, and as a result, you know, I feel like the Shadow is just a bit of a disadvantage.
I would absolutely agree. I think it definitely kind of puts you in a position to know your matchups a little more intricately, maybe kind of anticipate moves or the Earthquake more carefully as well. And I want to talk about the team competition here in a moment. I have another point to make, but we are already headed to the field for some battles. So let's go ahead and take a look. We have Walrein hitting the field versus the Shadow Swampert. Traditionally, this is a tough matchup for the Swampert. Do we see a switch out?
I think you have to go for a switch out. Maybe try to get to that Hydrokin first, as you should reach it just as your opponent gets to the Icicle Sphere. But unfortunately, this Swampert unable to switch out. Possibly went for the charge move priority there with the Hydro Cannon. Will go for the first shield from Jack's side of the field. Actually going to charge up for a second Hydro Cannon and throw the Earthquake here.
Going straight for the Earthquake, wanting to grab that Protect Shield back and reach shield parity, and achieves that mission, shielding up that Walrein there. That's a critical shield call by Youngus on the left side. You're going to see the Walreins come out to play now. And like you mentioned, Gabby, we have a Shadow versus a regular Walrein.
Unfortunately for Jack, though, Young's Walrein already has enough energy to go for that Earthquake, and Jack forced to go for that final shield on his side of the field. Young able to pivot into the Lickitung as well, so now that Jack is unable to shield, this Lickitung should have ample time to get to those Power Whips and start dealing some big damage.
But in the meantime, this Shadow Walrein has gathered so much energy. We're going to see a flurry of Icicle Spears get deployed here. Actually, no, reaching for the Earthquake. This is going to deal a lot of damage here. Critical shield call.
Oh, he does not go for the shield. As a result, this Earthquake boosted by that Shadow ability brings that Lickitung down almost to the KO. Just has a couple of fast moves left. Will be able to throw this Power Whip prior to being knocked out, but does not get the KO against the Shadow Walrein.
Walrein is so mighty as it does defeat that normal type Lickitung. Very, very thin razor margins there. But you see the Walrein come in, and those extra powder snows are going to be very difficult because there are no protect shields remaining here. As you see the Swampert.
All right, this Swampert already down to about 50% of its health, and you know that these icicle spheres from young side of the field are going to hurt. Swampert does get the hold on for one attack and does get to the Earthquake in time, but will this connect? It's
going to connect to your Earthquake coming all the way through, getting that excellent, and does land that attack. KOs the Walrein, but here is the tricky situation. You have no protect shields versus one shield for the Sableye. Do you go up for the return and try to deliver the knockout? Here comes the Frenzy Plant first.
All right, well, this Frenzy Plant will at least get rid of the final shield for Sableye, but it has already gotten a couple turns worth of energy, and as a result, it's able to comfortably get to that return. This is going to do so much damage to this Venusaur.
Sableye landing that return, and it does deliver the knockout. That Shadow Venusaur gets KO'd. Here comes the Shadow Swampert, and both of those Pokemon have fainted. Young is going to take game one.
So Jack bringing all three of his Shadow Pokemon into that matchup. Interestingly enough, it just felt like, again, he just didn't have enough bulk to navigate those situations. So I'm very curious if in game 2, you know, he follows a similar strategy. I think personally, I would want to have a little bit of bulk on my side of the field. You know, yes, these Shadow Pokemon are really powerful, and Swampert and Venusaur can get those charge moves fairly quickly. But if your opponent has the Lickitung, has their own Walrein, and the Sableye as well, that's just so tough to find the advantage against.
No, speaking of finding the advantage, the team composition point that I wanted to make was that this Alolan Ninetales here on the left side, it looks pretty free and clear because the hardest counter here is that Venusaur, but you look at that Walrein, you look at that Nidoqueen on the opposing side, it's got a lot of obstacles to overcome to come out into the field. I think the Alolan Ninetales will make a great appearance here as it does deal a lot of neutral or super effective damage in the case of Sableye.
Yeah, and I don't think you necessarily bring the Shadow Nidoqueen to counter the Alolan Ninetales on the side of the field in game 2, especially if you're expecting a similar play to what you saw from your opponent in game 1. So that Alolan Ninetales, if Jack makes that read, could be absolutely huge. The other thing that I wonder about on Jack's side of the field is we saw that Sableye do so much work for Young in game 1. Do you maybe pivot and bring your own Sableye in this game too, just to have that little bit of extra bulk in your favor?
I think so as well. Sableye is such a versatile Pokemon, and we do see on the field great calls by our co-caster Gabby here. We see Sableye in action.
Yeah, two Sableyes staring each other down from across the field. We'll go for a couple of Shadow Claws each, possibly trying to reach a foul play. Both of them, I think, throwing uncharged move priority as well. Looks like Young's able to connect the attack first. No shield on Jack's side.
Yeah, this is a critical situation as well because deciding not to push there for the charge move priority is going to not give the information about which Sableye would win it if they did meet. Instead, opting for the extra Shadow Claw there. We see a foul play coming through here from the Sableye on the right side. Is it far enough ahead to win? No, switching in the Ninetales, trying to get the charm down. It does not achieve it. Lickitung.
Yeah, that Lickitung is going to have enough bulk so that those charms just do not do enough damage. And even though Lick is doing a very, very small amount of damage to that Lickitung overall, it looks like this Ninetales is really going to struggle to find damage. Does connect the Weather Ball, will bring the Lickitung down into the yellow, but Lickitung has almost 2 body slams available to it already.
Lickitung looking to finally fight back here now that it's gathered all of this energy. First body slam coming through, and we see a protection shield get deployed from the Alolan Ninetales as well. Alolan Ninetales looking to bear down with some charm damage, and suddenly the Lickitung is very low.
Yeah, well, Alolan Ninetales is one of those Pokemon that trainers will invest 2 shields in, but not Jack, saving that last shield for one of the other Pokemon. Alolan Ninetales able to take the Power Whip and knock out with a return. Will throw the Weather Ball against this Walrein, but that's not going to do any damage.
Speaking of ice here, this is a little bit of tough sledding because the Alolan Ninetales probably could have reached the side shock there as it does resist these, powder snows. We see the Sableye switch in, trying to deliver a foul play here and a protect shield as well.
So that's great that it got a shield from Young's side of the field, but still, this Sableye was at such low health. This feels like free energy for the Walrein.
Exactly right. Walrein is able to consume that Sableye with the powder snows, and now it's loaded up on energy. Still a reserve Sableye in the back that could serve as a potential 3rd shield if it's switched in at the right moment to absorb a charge attack. Here comes the Shadow Walrein. This is a bit tough because you're so far behind in terms of energy.
Yeah, and it looks like Young going for the Earthquake, but Jack not shielding the Earthquake. That's going to do a big amount of damage. And even though Jack should be able to get to the Earthquake on his side of the field, Young does still have a Protect Shield available to him, and he'll go ahead and use it, giving his wall ring once again the advantage in this Shadow versus non-Shadow matchup.
Energy advantage with HP advantage and shield advantage. All three of the major advantages is here for that wall rain on the left, as that final Protect Shield does get baited away by the Icicle Spear. Still a chance to catch an attack though, and doesn't get it done. Alolan Ninetales gets powdered snow all the way off the field.
Yeah, that Alolan Ninetales just taking the field a second too soon. Now this Earthquake is going to be able to connect to that Shadow wall rain, pick up the KO, and Young moving on 2-0 in this tournament on wave 1 of the bracket.
Young, but very consistent there. I think incredible plays there to continually apply pressure to his opponent with the Earthquakes. Again, Jack trying to make some calls. Maybe my opponent will choose to throw an Icicle Spear. Maybe I shouldn't use a Protect Shield here, but does not get the calls correct. And all that Earthquake damage finally adds up to a KO and a win.
Yeah, and that's been a really exciting morning for Wave 1 so far. You know, we've seen so many incredible battles play out here on stream. We've seen the Shadow Pokemon, we've seen the non-Shadow Pokemon, we've seen your Nidoqueen, we've seen your Swampert, your Venusaur. We've seen Mandibuzz too, which was a very spicy pick to see this morning. But there's still so much incredible Pokemon action going on here at the Last Chance qualifier for Pokemon Go at the World Championships. You know, this again is the last opportunity for many of these trainers to qualify for the World Championships, and this is only half the field. So we have split the trainers up into 2 different waves. This has been Wave 1 that we've been featuring all throughout the morning so far. And, you know, when we're ready, if we could go ahead and take a look at the bracket for Wave 1, there are still so many games to play out. We don't actually know who's going to be moving on to Worlds yet. You know, speaking of Young, who we just saw win on stream, they're going to be facing off against WTM Go in round 3 of the winner's bracket of this tournament. We still have M. Gibson versus Pika Magicalica, Super Sue versus Azure. There are so many matches going on. Major Bowman versus Tho Technical. Major Bowman, a very good VGC player, also a commentator for VGC, jumping in on the Go side of things as well. There's going to be so much incredible action here. You know, we're only like literally 1 round into the winner's side of this bracket, and that's not even talking about the loser's side of the bracket, where these trainers are going to be, you know, fighting for their tournament lives.
Exactly right. And as we see this tournament develop, you will see trainers fall to that secondary bracket and then really show their grit as they try to stay in this tournament, get a shot at the grand finals, and try to get the door open to London and the World Championships. So many familiar names here as well. If you're watching at home, let us know which trainers you're rooting for, which Pokemon you would love to see. Are there any Pokemon that have not hit the field yet? One that comes to mind for me is that Shadow Alolan Marowak. I would love to see that Pokemon in play here. Will we get to see it here in London this weekend?
Round 3, 4, 5 semi-final.
I also would love to ask y'all trainers at home, as we're, you know, wrapping up our Wave 1 coverage for the day.
Wave 1 है और
you were playing in the Last Chance qualifiers, what Pokemon would you be bringing? You know, who are your best buddies? Who are your favorite Shadow Pokemon? What's the team that you would hope would sort of propel you into the World Championships? Because even if you're not here competing with us today, there are all...
आ जाओ। आपने लगा दिया क्या कोड? मतलब चलो मैं करके देखता हूँ, इसको भी करके देखता हूँ एक बार। हमने तो कर लिया है ना, तो ये फिर से करने का क्या फ़ायदा? एक बार फिर से कर लेते हैं। बट हो भाई, डराओ मत यार, डराओ मत, बिल्कुल मत डराओ यार। कर दो लॉगिन यार। मैं भाई यहीं पे ही लूँगा, आज के बाद मैं कहीं नहीं जा रहा। बच गए यार, थोड़ी देर के लिए उधर धक हो रहा था भाई, ऋतुराज भाई धक हो रहा था भाई। 1 मिनट यार, रुको। डर तो है, कोड लगा लेते हैं। P7Y2 G5M G5M 3SJ F44 ये वही है यार, और कुछ नहीं है। ये देखो थंबनेल चेंज हो चुका है यार। फाइनली इस क्राफ्टिंग एक्सेल हो गई क्या बेहतरीन यार। न्यू कोड, हाँ बट इसका कुछ वो नहीं है, मतलब फ़ायदा नहीं है। पहला कर लिया, टाइम रिसर्च ही है बस। मैं चार्जिंग पे लगा दूं यार इसको। दूसरे इज द ओनली कोड दे हैव शोन? नो ब्रो, दिस इज नॉट द ओनली वन। देयर आर एक्चुअली टू कोड्स, one for redeeming a t-shirt and second one for time research, that's all. Once you receive the t-shirt and the time research, all of the codes were like useless. मैंने बहुत गंदी इंग्लिश बोली ना ऋतुराज भाई फिर से। टाइम रिसर्च अभी भी रिडीम नहीं किया है तो हरी भाई का मैसेज पिन है, वहाँ से कर लो। हाँ भाई, जिसने एक बार भी नहीं किया वो कर लो। फायर पंच जी वी आर इन द शील्ड एडवांटेज। थ्रो नहीं, हाँ थ्रो ही है। नहीं अच्छी सही में, चलो अच्छा लगा भाई ऋतुराज भाई, दिल से अच्छा लगता है यार। हरी भाई 50 मैच हो सकते हैं, देखा। बॉडी स्लैम यार, इसका दूसरा मूव क्या है मेरे को ही नहीं समझ आ रहा अभी तक। मड बॉम्ब। अभी फार्म डाउन हो जाएंगे यार हम। काउंटर का ड्रैगन टेल से तगड़ा एनिमेशन है यार। एक टैप हो, लेट्स गो ड्रैगन क्लो हकामो। ओ लकी हकामो, खतरनाक भाई। क्लच ओ बॉडी स्लैम तो नहीं करता शायद, वन शॉट यहाँ से भी वो कर सकता था यार, पक्का नहीं है। थोड़ा सा बच गया यार वो, क्या टैंक है भाई। जी यार, मैंने सिर्फ ऋतुराज भाई पहली स्ट्रीम अपनी मस्त हुई थी। कल भी कोशिश करूँगा, आज तो मैं ये सैबलाई वगैरह बना रहा था। फुल चार्ज कर गएंगे यार ऋतुराज भाई, स्टार्टिंग से देखेंगे। जब बंद हो जाएगी लगेगा फिर से करना है तो ठीक है, वरना नहीं। अभी तो मैंने इसलिए करी है कि यार डिस्कॉर्ड पे करने से अच्छा यहाँ कर लेते हैं, है ना। अभी तो ब्रेक है भाई, 3 मिनट का ब्रेक है पूरा। 2 मैच हो जाएंगे 3 मिनट में भाई, मुझे तो ऐसा लग रहा है, क्योंकि उसके बाद कमेंट्री शुरू होगी। बट हकामो आइस पंच से इतना गंदा क्यों नहीं पिटा, मेरे को ये समझ नहीं आया। हर एक पोकेमॉन बहुत बुरी तरह पिटा था, हकामो वो क्यों नहीं पिटा यार? आइस पंच से आधी भी नहीं गई उसकी। स्काल्ड सही में समझ नहीं आया तो मेरे को। 1 2 3 कल थोड़ा भाई एकदम बैटल स्टार्ट पाएंगे ऋतुराज भाई, पर अगर वैसा कुछ हुआ ना, समझ रहे हो ना, कोड वगैरह का, तो जल्दी आएंगे। ये आइस पंच है यार, बट अब सील्ड करनी पड़ेगी। अगर कोई शर्ट वगैरह मिल रही होगी, ऐसा कुछ हुआ तो ऋतुराज भाई आएंगे, वरना वही आएंगे यार जैसे बैटल स्टार्ट होगी ना 2:30-3 बजे, उसके बाद ही आएंगे यार, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। बदल बदल के देता रहेंगे, हाँ भाई मेरे को भी लग रहा है, बट कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, देख लेते हैं। अर्ग यार, CMP इस इवेंट में बेल्जियम नहीं, वो रिसर्च में है हरी भाई। खत्म मैच, बस रिसर्च में है हरी भाई। भाई ये तो जीतना पड़ेगा यार पॉजिटिव साइड के लिए। स्नीजल पे क्लोज कॉम्बैट भी आता है ना शायद से। ये शर्ट थी यार, ये जो आपके सामने है, क्या शर्ट है मेरे को समझ नहीं आ रहा, बस बीच में डार्क, साइड में डार्क ब्लू, बीच में लाइट ब्लू। अब मोबाइल हीट होना शुरू हो गया, क्यों? क्योंकि लोकेशन ऑन है यार। बैटल के लिए लोकेशन ऑन नहीं रहनी चाहिए यार, इतना कर सकते हैं ना ये ऋतुराज भाई, इतना भी नहीं करते यार। बैटल के लिए तो लोकेशन ऑफ कर दें यार, इतना भी नहीं करते यार, बताओ। मिशन थोड़ा बुरा है, क्या मिशन है? स्नीजल को सब शील्ड करते हैं ना, अगली बार से वेट करूंगा, अगर इसने भी शील्ड करी तो वेट करूंगा अगली बार से। पावर सैब अपना सैबला इस क्राफ्टी बनाया जैसे, तो जब यूज़ कर लो यार, जब बढ़िया रहेगा करना, उसी टाइम पे सही है। लाइक कितने हो गए भाई? $14 हो गए, चलो 20 करते हैं। मेरे पे भी नहीं है लेवल 50, सिर्फ मेरे पास लेवल 50 मेटाग्रोस नहीं है अभी तक। मैंने बना लिया था, बट एक और इवोल्व कर लिया मैंने हंडो। क्या 40 के लिए बनाने लग जाऊं तो 40 के लिए। सेवरल मेडिस्ट्री टीम यूज़ करो। ठीक है यार, इसका मडबोम डैमेज है इतना तगड़ा। क्या मारा था इसने? 1 मिनट। स्लज बॉम्ब था, मैं वो कह रहा मडबोम डैमेज तो नहीं होगा यार। ओह क्या क्या ला रहे हैं लोग, ये मेरे को देखना था। ये एक फेमस यूट्यूबर की टीम है यार, या हाँ वही है वही है। सेबला मेडी रेजी बहुत सही टीम है यार हरी भाई। अभी एक तो मैं डिफेंस डिओक्सिस वाली ट्राई करूँगा, उसके बाद एक वो ट्राई करूँगा, ये वाली जो आप बोल रहे हो। एक सेबलाई, शैडो मैरोवैक, और वो भी है एक वैसी टीम भी है। लीव भी कर गया। हाँ सेबलाई, एजुमरिल और शैडो मैरोवैक भी है एक। फायर ब्लास्ट नहीं रिकमेंड करते, बट मज़ा आता चलाने में यार। जेसियन नहीं मिल सकता क्या एक भी मेरे को यहाँ से आज? मैरो एक सही है ना यार, 1499 सही जा रहा है यार। उसकी सोल डाली थी जब, याद है? भाई साहब शुरू तो नहीं हुआ ना, मतलब मैं चेक करूं क्योंकि लेट ही करते हैं वो। अभी वहाँ पर दिखा रहे हैं किसका मैच है, किंग, सिंडी, राइज और डफ नाम था, डो नाम था यार, डफ बोल रहा हूँ मैं खतरनाक तो नाम है बंदे के। एक C2AR ऐसे कुछ है, और एक जो हरी भाई आपका बंदा है वो सब कल लड़ेंगे, उनकी सबकी बैटल कल है भाई। आज तो ये क्वालिफायर है, 2 क्वालिफाई कर जाए हरी भाई, मजा आएगा जब 2 खेलेगा कल। एक्शन का कब है, सब कल है, किंग वगैरह सब। आज तो क्वालिफायर है एक तरह से, दूसरा मौका मिल रहा है सबको। ठीक है, मैं स्विच करने वाला था पर अब स्विच ले गया मैं वापस। टॉक्सिक रॉक, हकामो, भाई जिंदगी का दिख नहीं रहा बट उसमें लिस्ट में हरी भाई। ऐसा तो नहीं इनका 2 दिन चलेंगे ये क्वालिफायर भी, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए। दो ड्रैगन क्लॉ पहुंच जाएगा यार, ऐसा लग रहा है ना, ये डबल ड्रैगन क्लॉ पहुंच जाएगा ना यार, आई थिंक पहुंच जाएगा, और ड्रैगन क्लॉस को पेल जाएगा यार। नहीं अनफेयर नहीं है इन सब, ये क्वालिफाई कर तो रहे हैं हरी भाई, क्वालिफायर खेल तो रहे हैं ये। लेट्स गो, क्वालिफाई कर रहे हैं हरी भाई। हम या कोई भी जा सकते थे यार, शायद सब कंटेंट क्रिएटर नहीं है क्योंकि यार। मैच स्टार्ट होने वाला है, चलते हैं हम मैच देखने। कोई नहीं यार, अपने को तो देखना है हरी भाई। दिक्कत ही है ना, उतना ही खर्चा करके जाना पड़ेगा हरी भाई, तो उस हिसाब से मेरे को सही लग रहा है यार। अपने खर्चे पे आप जर्मनी जाओ, खेल लो क्वालिफायर, क्योंकि इतना खर्चा हर कोई करेगा।
So we're going to see how this team plays out.
Yeah, as the resident Bastion expert,
you're
going to have to let us know how good Bastion is versus this team, but it looks like we're just going to have to find out for ourselves. It is going to be the Talonflame into the Shadow Nidoqueen, actually. So this is a little bit better for the Nidoqueen because these jabs, these poison jabs are doing more damage. It's just adding up. It's almost nearly half health just from jabs.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But again, the Poison Fang is very predictable here, so going to be
अभी एक मैच देख रहा था मैं,
no shield from 89.
ऋतुराज भाई उसमें स्टोन एज मार के स्टोन एज मारा और वन शॉट करा था, पता नहीं टैलन फ्लेम था क्या था, वन शॉट हुआ था फ्लायर।
Charging for either charging, and we see
भाई ऐसा नहीं होता है, बच्चों वाली बात
over
करो
to
और
the
डिलीट कर
save
देना,
boy
तो
here, the
ऋतुराज भाई
purified
आपको
save
टाइमर दे
boy
देंगे।
on the save swap, very
कोऑर्डिनेट
strong,
वगैरह ड्रामे मत
and
करे करो
has
वो,
a
मैंने
shield
1000 बार
advantage
बोला है
here.
क्यों ड्रामे
Baiting
करते हो,
into
बच्चों
2 protect shields. 89 Breed with the call. No protect shields, that's not very effective. And then here comes a swap into the save point. But now, since you debuff the defense stat, maybe this foul play will knock out. But we first see the opposing Sableye in this charge boost priority, I believe.
we do see 89 Breed almost had 2 foul plays here. It was charged from priority, so this is really important information for both trainers. Now 89 Breed knows that Angelino Sableye is going to win charge from priority every single time here, so does have to throw the foul play a little bit sooner than Angelino here. Let's see if Angelino gets his final shield or not, and he does.
Great call. That's a little wrinkle for this game and for future games as well. And you do protect shield just to try to get the next foul play, but no, you tried the Shadow Claw down, and now you're going to have to take the foul play, which will knock out, and you will lose the alignment here.
This is absolutely huge because 89 Breed really needs alignment. Now has a shield advantage with the Talonflame still and a Walrein. The Walrein is going to do a lot of work against the Nidoqueen and even the Registeel too, especially with the shield advantage. Registeel going for a lock-on down, and here comes the Nidoqueen and getting to the Flame Charge before the Poison Fang here too.
That was huge. I think the Nidoqueen was trying to get to that Fang, but didn't get to it, and now it's going to have a hard time taking out this Talonflame. How are you going to finish it off? You can't lock it down. Look at how much its Incinerates are doing. You're going to have to throw a charge move.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier, and goes for the farm down, but does not get to it. Surviving with 1 HP on this Talonflame. This Talonflame's Flame Charge is going to boost its attack damage. Almost knocking out the Walrein by itself.
But look at this. I mean, you have to be able to survive. You throw the Zap Cannon first, so you take less damage from these Powder Snows, but the Registeel at this point is just too low. It's going to get knocked out by the Icicle Spear. You have to shield that Zap Cannon. I mean, the only way to win is maybe if you swap into the Sableye, but the Sableye is switch locked, so you're just going to go for the Icicle Spear to knock out this Registeel.
Yeah, this Walrein is going to finish off the Registeel, and because it's a non-Shadow Walrein too, most of these can also tank that Zap Cannon as well from the Registeel. So a very interesting first match from 89 Breed. We didn't see the Serperior nor Bastion, but again, like we mentioned before, sometimes just the bench pressure alone is enough. You bring these interesting pairings, but you just bring a more conventional team on the battlefield.
So a high-level play I want to point out by 89 Breed. He had his Sableye in there, and the Registeel came in to fully lock on it down, and that would have gave the Registeel so much momentum. He caught that instantly, swapped into the Talonflame to deny that, and either force the Nidoqueen energy or just knock out the Nidoqueen yourself because there's no Protect Shields remaining. So getting to that Flame Charge first, and then at that point, the Registeel went for the lock-on down, but had to take all those Incinerates, and the Flame Charge nearly knocked it out.
Yeah, you know, and I think there could have been a lot of ways 89 Breed could have played that out, and I think either way it would have been pretty favorable for them at that point in time because you have a 1 shield advantage Walrein there too. Even if the Nidoqueen knocks out the Talonflame, the Nidoqueen gets farmed down from the Walrein. The Walrein having a shield advantage is going to finish off the Registeel as well there too. So really good management of shields from 89 Breed, and Angelino still gathering some important information there, understanding now that their Sableye does have the charge from priority in the mirror match there too.
Right, and Talonflame is just looking pretty strong versus Angelino's team. The only real counter to it is that Azumarill. We saw it as the lead in game number 1, where it's typically most effective because, as we saw in the first matchup, you get to that Brave Bird energy, and you have to respect the Brave Bird. So a lot of trainers will put up the Protect Shield, and then you just get the Flame Charge, you boost up your own attack. So we're going to see how does Angelino handle the Talonflame in this game number 2, and it's a Walrein lead into Nidoqueen.
Yeah, this is going to be a great spot for 89 Breed here. This Walrein is going to do super effective damage with this Ice, and we see a safe swap with the Azumarill here. It is running Play Rough and Ice Beam. This Walrein is probably in the best matchup it could hope for here because you have a Talonflame and a Sableye.
You're absolutely correct. This is why the Walrein is staying in, because you do not want any part of Azumarill with your backline. So you just have the energy advantage. You're just going to go for these Earthquakes, play this matchup out, and there's going to be no counter to the Talonflame in the back. So maybe you're going to commit both of the Protect Shields to it.
Yeah, and not only that, but the Sableye has a very strong matchup both against the Nidoqueen and pretty strong against the Registeel with shields up here. And so this Walrein is very content to stay in this matchup, doing as much damage as it can with these neutral Earthquakes and just staying in the matchup.
And it looked like charge move priority it was, so the Walrein did go first because it trains its attack better, and then now the Play Rough is matched by the Walrein. The Protect Shield, 2 Protect Shields have gone up. Both trainers want the alignment here.
Yeah, and let's see how Angelino recognizes the situation or not. Getting to that Earthquake and throwing the Earthquake on charge priority. 8-9 Breed fully dialed into this matchup, and we see both shields from Angelino come out to protect this Azumarill.
It's really smart to throw in charge move priority there because you deny an extra fast move, a 3-turn move from the Azumarill, and the play rough does knock out this wall ring, but now you have that protect shield advantage that you wanted for Talonflame. So you come in with Sableye because you just want to save that Talonflame, keep it healthy.
Yeah, and this is such a smart play from 8-9 Breed, doing a lot of neutral damage to these Shadow Claws, getting so much energy on this Sableye, and shields down. This Talonflame is so strong against the backline of Angelino here, and going for aggressive farm down. And all the way down. That is 100 energy on this Sableye. Nothing wants to see it. And here comes the Registeel having to tank all these foul plays here.
What a bold fast move down. Was over 100 energy, but did not care. Saved all of it, and now is going to unleash it onto the Registeel. You might get the 3 foul plays before the Registeel can even get to a move here, and I think that's what 89 Breed is going to try to do.
Really understanding how to manage energy as best as possible here. This Registeel is almost knocked out and hasn't even thrown a single charge move at this Sableye yet.
It did effectively soak up all this damage, so give that to Registeel, and now it's nearly at a charge move, so you think, oh, and a swap, trying to save that energy for later, but it's met by the Talonflame, and the Talonflame can go for the Brave Bird here.
Yeah, and so here's the thing, even if you land this Poison Fang here, you can't lock on down this Talonflame, so the Registeel is still forced to throw his charge move no matter what here, even after this Brave Bird debuffs the Talonflame's own defense. This is such a smart play from 8-9 Breed, and this puts Angelino at such a tough position.
And once again, there's just not enough fast move pressure, so you have to throw this Zap Cannon before the Incinerate lands, and this is going to knock out the Talonflame, but there's just health on the Sableye here. So the Sableye is just going to come in, and it's nearly out of foul play too. It's probably just going to, no, it's going to go for the Shadow Claw down there to win 2-0 against Angelino.
What a strong performance from 8-9 Breed there. And yeah, such well-positioned plays. And, you know, even though 8-9 Breed did have the lead advantage in the second one, understanding the situation, understanding all of their win conditions.
वन रिसर्च एवरी डे लिखा हुआ है ऋतुराज भाई, कल भी एक रिसर्च मिलेगी, तो ये आज कंप्लीट करनी पड़ेगी। डेली एक रिसर्च मिलेगी, तो कल का डायल रखेंगे। पोकेन को वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप डे 2 वो न्यू रिडीम कोड, न्यू टाइम रिसर्च, ऐसा कुछ। भाई ये देखा ऋतुराज भाई, उसने ब्रेव बर्ड मार के वो करा कि मतलब तू भाई जैप कैनन थ्रो कर, उसने अंडर चार्ज बिल्कुल नहीं करा। मैं तो कह रहा था फोकस ब्लास्ट मार के अंडर चार्ज करता है यार वो, उसने अंडर चार्ज करने की कोशिश नहीं करी। बड़ा ही अजीब खेला यार दूसरा, क्या ही खेला। अरे भाई जी भाई पूरा मतलब उसे पता था क्या करना है, इतना तगड़ा खेला है बंदा, मजे आ गए। 2-0 और राउंड 3 चल रहा है, फिर 4 है, फिर सेमीफाइनल। फिर भी निकाल लेते सैबलाई, पर फोकस ब्लास्ट रेंज में था शायद, वो लो था यार ऋतुराज, लो था काफ़ी, इतना ये बल्कि नहीं है ना यार। ओ बढ़िया खेला यार, बहुत तगड़ा खेला। ये मैच तो गया अपना भाई, मुझे लगा फार्म डाउन हो गया मैं। कोई रिडीम दिया क्या अभी? इंस्टिंक्ट, अगर आपने टी शर्ट और टाइम रिसर्च ले लिया तो अब कल होगा। अब कुछ ये सारे कोड ख़राब हैं, वो तो उनके लिए हैं जिन्होंने मिस कर दिए हैं। ये आराम से कल अब नया टाइम रिसर्च मिलेगा, इसको आज कंप्लीट कर लेना, मैं भी कर लूँगा जैसे तैसे करके, और कल लेने आएंगे नई टाइम रिसर्च। यार टेंशन की बात नहीं है। कल नया टाइम रिसर्च आएगा, उम्मीद करते हैं कल भी रेड पास आ जाए एक मज़ा आ जाएगा, आज भी कल भी। इस वाले में तो GBL के मैच जीतने हैं ना ऋतुराज भाई, इस वाले में। कैच आई थिंक 3 दिन 3 रिसर्च मिलेंगे यार अलग अलग, तो सही हो जाएगा सीन, जो भी है सही है। थ्रो जी आओ, थ्रो जी आपको थ्रो कर देंगे हम, आ जाओ जी। रिसर्च नहीं मिला, एक भी रिसर्च नहीं मिला क्या आज? इंस्टिंक्ट एक तो मिला होगा। कैसी बात कर दे। मैं सोच रहा था ये पपलू टॉक्सिक नहीं दिखा अभी तक। खत्म मैच। नया रिडीम कोड कर लो, ये जो ऊपर है, ये जो ऋतुराज भाई हरी भाई का मैंने पिन कर रखा है ना, साइकेडेलिक का, ये कर लो। ये बंदा बढ़िया था, इनने CMP पे थ्रो किया। कर लो इसको, रिडीम कर लो, और T-शर्ट के लिए डिस्कॉर्ड वाला कर लेना। एंड दैट वाज अ गुड गेम। अब अगला राउंड कब होगा मैं चेक करूं। अभी तो बातचीत चल रही है यार उनकी, हरी भाई गहरी बातचीत, ऋतुराज भाई गहरी बातचीत चालू है अभी तो। T-शर्ट बेकार है, बस कलेक्शन के लिए सही है हरी भाई। वो रेड वाली अच्छी थी, कल स्पिन या फिर आज अगर जो स्पिन कर लेता, और इन्होंने स्पॉन वगैरह उनके लिए कर दिए हैं बढ़िया, मतलब सही भी करा है। के ब्रो हाँ कर लो यार रिडीम हैरी भाई। रेड वाली सही है, T-शर्ट बुरी नहीं है, पर इतना खर्चा करके बुरी है यार। इतना खर्चा करके जाओ और रेड T-शर्ट, पर जो जीत जाए या फिर जो क्वालिफाई कर जाए कल के लिए, उसके लिए भी इनफ है यार, पैसा वसूल। लेट्स गो। अच्छा मिल रहा था या स्पोन या फिर T-शर्ट हरी भाई। टॉक्सिक रॉक बना लिया आपने, ग्रेड लीग का बनाना था काफ़ी टाइम से यार, फाइनली एक टॉक्सिक रॉक भी आ गया हम पे यार। ओके, स्नैक करने की कोशिश नाकामयाब। शर्ट भाई हाँ, ओके थ्रो करने में कर दिया है हमने उसको मजबूर। अभी 1 शॉट वो स्टोनेज भी नहीं कर पाएगा ना हमको मैच एम का। एंड दैट वाज अ गुड गेम। जी मैंने भी बना लिया था लास्ट इवेंट में। टॉक्सिक रॉक सही है यार, बढ़िया है। वैसे बोलो मुझे साइनिस ट्रांसफिश में बढ़िया, नाइस नाइस भाई। मैच स्टार्ट होने वाला है वैसे, आई थिंक हमको चलना चाहिए यार। आई नो हम विजय पथ पे थे अपने, हम जीते जा रहे थे, बट अभी चलना चाहिए यार। एटलीस्ट सेट पॉजिटिव हो गया, सेट पॉजिटिव तो चलो भाई। वॉचिंग तो ट्विच पे तगड़ी चल रही है इनकी यार। मुझे नहीं लगा था इनकी 30 के क्रॉस थी यार दिन में, याद है कल होगी इनकी पक्का 40,000 क्रॉस कर 30 आज थी, 30 थी पता नहीं 38 थी, कल 40 क्रॉस हो जाएगी अगर आज 38। क्या लगता है कल तो भाई किंग वगैरह सब होंगे भाई। कल इनकी भाई वॉचिंग क्रॉस कर जाएगी दिन में काफी ज्यादा थी। जब लोगों को पता चला ना ये तो एक तरह से क्वालीफायर है, फर्स्ट डे लोग चले गए। इलाइट टीएम यूज कर रहे हैं क्या? इलाइट चार्ज हरी भाई निकिटन पे करूंगा शायद, अभी तो पता नहीं है, अभी तो बचा रहा हूं। किस पे करूं यार, आइडिया दो।
Or Canto Ninetales. So could definitely be an interesting Pokemon to see. Definitely the big thing you want to avoid is Obstagoon. But we haven't seen as many Obstagoon as I would expect today. And maybe, you know, the Obstagoon Community Day maybe got trainers scared to bring it because they expected too many Obstagoons.
Yeah, maybe they thought everyone's going to be prepared. It was just Obstagoon Community Day. I'm not going to bring it, but the interesting part about this
आगे जाके एक्सेल करते हो ठंडो मिल गया तो दिक्कत हो जाएगी ब्रो मेडल रिडीम हो रहा है बार-बार
So how do you beat
क्यों
that core?
भाई एक बार टी-शर्ट मिलती है मिली है आज और एक बार आपको टाइम रिसर्च उसके बाद आप बार-बार भी ट्राई करते रहोगे ना आपको टाइम रिसर्च मिलेगी एक टाइम रिसर्च मिल गई एक टी-शर्ट मिल गई तो फिर अब कल नई टाइम रिसर्च मिलेगी अभी आपको का कोई फायदा नहीं है
to really get the matchup they want here. And something I just thought about too on why we might be seeing so much Shadow Venusaur because
ये राइट वाला हरी भाई देखो नहीं लग रहा क्या ये तो दोनों ही देखे हुए हैं हरी भाई क्या नाम क्या था ये दोनों ही देखे थे यार
make as many as they want.
पिछली बार
They're maybe expecting a lot of Obstagoons and Trevenant's really going to show against Obstagoon.
तो है आपके पास
Venusaur on the other hand is
अरे नहीं म्यूटू पे मैंने लगा दिया शैडो बॉल कर दिया था मैंने हरी भाई जब भी कर दिया शैडो बॉल
only really has to work on Nice Slash or Obstruct and Obstruct.
ओके थैंक्स हां भाई कल स्ट्रीम करेंगे जब भी ये स्टार्ट होंगे मैच उस टाइम पे भाई स्ट्रीम पर आके मैं कोड दूंगा
Obstagoon to Scrafty. Now Trevenant is maybe not the grass type of choice because when you're trying to counter in that role with the grass type. You're trying to counter some waters. Also, you're trying to counter the fighting types. You are, in Trevenant's case, you're the ghost grass. And then, in Venusaur's case, you are the poison grass. So now that poison subtyping seems to be more advantageous than the ghost.
Yeah, so... You know, maybe the Shadow Venusaur conspiracy theory is not as, you know, coordinated as we thought. Maybe it's just a lot of similar minds thinking alike here. And I believe many of our Shadow Venusaur trainers have moved on quite far in this last chance qualifiers, so it's proved to be pretty effective. But so far, we don't see any on either of these side as they are starting to pick their team to lock in for
this main threat.
And I think we might see a lot of Lickitung in these matchups here because, as you see on Pinshu's side, you want to counter the opposing Lickitung and Trevenant, and your best option is probably Lickitung. You have Registeel as well that can be okay. And as we get into this game number one, there it is. There's the Lickitung, but it's met by Medicham, and that's not what it wants to see.
Yes, so this is actually not the worst matchup in some ways here too. So you see Trent actually staying in this matchup. These super effective licks really start adding up against this Medicham. Medicham does not have any fighting charges either on Pinshu's side, running the Ice Punch and Psychic combination here too. Because of that, this matchup is not as bad as you would think here. And if you look in the back end here, Trent really wants to get rid of this Medicham because that Galarian Stunfisk wants to do as much damage as possible.
Yeah, running weak to fighting in the front and weak to fighting in the back, so you're forced to stay in. And Registeel tried to swap in and try to take some of that damage, but it's met by the Swampert here. At least it got a little energy advantage, but it's not the Shadow Swampert. So the regular Swampert can take a Focus Blast quite nicely.
Yeah, so here's the trade-off here. The regular Swampert can tank the Focus Blast, but at the same time, the regular Swampert does have to land an Earthquake to really knock out this Registeel unless you throw many Hydro Cannons at this Registeel here too. So let's see if Pinshu invests in shield or not, and is going to actually not shield this Earthquake, and this Earthquake is going to knock out Registeel.
Yeah, you got what you wanted. You got the Protect Shield advantage, but I mean, how do you deal with this Swampert now? You don't really have that good options, and the Swampert is not Shadow, so the charms aren't going to add up as much, and it's already in another Hydro Cannon. It's just going to keep going off against this Alolan Ninetales.
Yeah, this Swampert is seeing a lot of Hydro Cannons in the future here too. It's going to start throwing these Hydro Cannons super quickly here, and this is a really tough situation for Pinshu because you still have the Galarian Stunfisk in the back, but in all things considered, Pinshu might have made a really good read here because if Pinshu saved both shields before this Alolan Ninetales, he would have been in a really tough spot against Galarian Stunfisk. So sacrificing this Alolan Ninetales' health against the Swampert might be the right play.
Right, and saw that the Medicham was faced by Lickitung, and Lickitung did not swap out, maybe thinking that the backline is weak to fighting as well, and you have to Protect Shield this because you're too low. If you're the Medicham and you Protect Shield the Body Slam, you're going to try to counter down. You are taking these super effective licks, you're going to get loaded with some energy here, but I mean, look, the Stunfisk just has so much health, the Psychic is resisted, so you're forced to throw Ice Punches.
Yeah, you know, and that was the right call from Pinshu to shield that Body Slam because you're forcing Trent to potentially throw a lot of luck shots, putting in Rock Slide range or go for an Earthquake here, but the problem is Trent is probably feeling very comfortable in the situation, still having a shield remaining and saving the shield for potentially a weather ball on the Ninetales here. And it's going to try to farm as much energy as possible against this Medicham. And actually goes for Earthquake here too. I think this Earthquake may be a little overkill here, but Trent feeling comfortable still in this matchup, still having that positive matchup, steal into the Fairy in the back.
Knowing that the Alolan Ninetales is energy dry, thinking that I can still outpace it and get to the rock slide, which Trent does do. And this will knock out the Alolan Ninetales, and Trent will take game number 1 here of this matchup versus Pinshu.
Yeah, and we saw Trent lead Lickitung into the Medicham there. I think that was a really smart and safe play there for Trent because, again, even if you get the Medicham, you really set up your Galarian Stunfisk to have a lot of play in the back end there, and you see Trent with the normal type lead with the double ground strategy in the back.
न्यूजीलैंड के साथ कांटेक्ट खत्म करके पोगन को खेलने आ गया टैंक,
especially if you don't
और बहुत ही बढ़िया तरह से EQ मजे के लिए मजा ही किया भाई, इतनी कम हेल्थ में आपको क्या तो गलती से हुआ है
an A that you lead that's weak to fighting, and then another A in the back that's also weak to fighting. So you're forced to stay into the Lickitung matchup because it's not as bad as the Galarian Stunfisk matchup. And I think Pinshu recognized that and tried to keep Medicham healthy and try to keep it alive so that maybe he could close in the back and take out the Galarian Stunfisk. But in the end, it wasn't enough because Trent just got way too much momentum out of Swampert.
Yeah, you know, and I think we're going to see a lot of double ground strategy from Trent here because
800 cross होगी थी यार वो.
Swampert is only weak to grass, and your only grass move is a power whip on Lickitung from Pinshu's side. But outside of that, and Swampert still does fairly okay against Lickitung, especially if you have a shield.
Trent जीतेगा या
Galarian Stunfisk is going to do great against Lickitung.
मैं तो Trent की तरफ जा रहा हूँ, 2-0 होगा, उल्टा होगा इस बार, right वाला जीतेगा.
Trent is really able to exploit against Pinshu.
Trent या
I think
Pinshu.
you're right, Caleb. There's no real answer to this double ground. And just going with the Lickitung as well because that has really good matchups. I mean, you're mentioning earlier Shadow Venusaur looks really good against that team, but there's no grass. There's no grass here, so how are you going to deal with that double ground? You're going to have to rely on some neutral matchups or possibly match up the Medicham into Galarian Stunfisk. We were unable to do that in game number 1.
You know, some Pokemon that would do pretty well against the double ground is that Gofagrigus. You have to watch out for the Lickitung, but otherwise the Gofagrigus is doing a lot of neutral damage against pretty much everything else on Trent's team, except for the Trevenant, but it's on both sides here. And so we do see the Gofagrigus here leading into the Swampert. It's a pretty neutral matchup here. But yeah, let's see how Trent reacts to this because this is not a bad situation for Pinshu to be in, especially
data ad. हाँ, अगर आपको पता होता है भाई आज king वगैरह का नहीं है तो शायद आप नहीं करते.
You want to find a neutral matchup for the Gofagrigus, which is the Swampert.
गाँव में कब आ रहे हो यार यहाँ चंडीगढ़?
Nearly at these double Hydro Cannons. There comes the second Hydro Cannon, and as you saw from the first one, the second one will probably knock out. So already having to give up a Protect Shield.
Yeah, but on the opposite end,
Psychic bait होनी चाहिए ना यार.
Tank a Hydro Cannon before throwing a Shadow Ball. This Swampert does not really want to get hit by Shadow Ball, but it looks like Trent is actually going to forego the shield here, maybe expecting a Dark Pulse or maybe just comfortable tanking the Shadow Ball here. And now we see a swap
की छोड़ दिया, switch ही छोड़ दिया
here. And this could be really interesting.
But ठीक है, Trevenant का आंसर नहीं था
for the Registeel, but at the same time, you at least avoid the Trevenant matchup against the Medicham.
Team lead
करके. Kind of running a team triple weak to Trevenant because you have the Medicham in the back. There's no really good answer, so you have to bring in the Registeel and just go for these Zap Cannons here. And there's 2 Protect Shields remaining from Trent, and having to give one up on the Zap Cannon.
Yeah, and I think Trent might be recognizing this situation. Designed to shield the Zap Cannon. Even though it is resistant, Zap Cannon will still do a good chunk of damage here, but want to farm up as much energy as possible before throwing this Shadow Ball here that would knock out the Registeel if it goes unshielded, and it looks like Pinshu is going to save that remaining shield for the Kofa.
Yeah, Trent definitely recognized this, said, okay, you're bringing in Registeel to my Trevenant? This is your best answer? I'm going to Protect Shield. I'm going to keep this thing healthy, and I'm going to try to finish up the game with it, but this Gofagrigus is already at a Dark Pulse, and at this point, the Trevenant is within range of knockout, so it has to give up the Protect Shield.
This is going to be really interesting here, too, because now we see the final shield come out, and then we actually see the Medicham swapping into this Trevenant and actually no-shielding a Shadow Ball. Pinshu's really going to regret when the Shadow Ball lands, and it's going to almost knock out this Medicham here. Medicham's still able to get to this Ice Punch, but now he's caught on the Swampert here too.
Catch,
so wasting a lot of that energy, and you have a Galarian in the back for Trent, but it's already has such a heavy damage here. And this Trevenant is still
calm down होगा भाई
अब कुछ नहीं होगा. Metacham.
What a catch
जी
there by
भाई
Trent.
ट्रेंड्स निकाल के आया मैच.
I mean, this is your last Pokemon. You have to give up the
ये
protection.
बड़ा ही
This
देख रहे
Cofagrigus is
हो
already quite
पेंचू जो
low.
था बेचारा
It
वो
is
थोड़ा
not at a
वो भी हो
move,
रहा है
and
घबरा रहा है
it's
नर्वस
going to be
लग
in
रहा है
range of Shadow Claw. I think it's just going to
ये
get
round
Shadow
2 है, ये
Clawed
round
down
2
by
है.
the Trevenant, and Trent looks like it's going to take it 2-0
GG भाई.
here.
Yeah, very commanding 2 games from Trent there too. Really strong, especially exploiting that weakness of not having a...
भाई क्या कैच किया उसने. पेंचू थोड़ा नर्वस ज़्यादा लग रहा था मेरे को, पर भाई क्या कैच था यार बंदे का. कैच तो है भाई बहुत. ही मैच खत्म कर दिया कैच ने ऋतुराज भाई. मतलब उसके बाद भी उस पर तो मौका था कि जीत सकता था, कैच ने खत्म ही कर दिया. वो कैच ने जिता दिया. कैच के बाद भी हाँ थोड़ा मतलब अर्थक्वेक पहुंच सकता था यार, क्या पता यार, बट कैच ने तो ख़त्म ही कर दिया यार कि भाई जाओ हम जीत गए, वो वाला सीन. खतरनाक यार. अभी सब मिक्स चल रहा है. राउंड 3, 2 सब मिक्स चल रहा है. 1, 2, 3, 4 सब भाई मिक्स ही कर रखा है. क्रेजी मैच यार. बहुत सही खेला यार ट्रेंड्स. पूरा उसको पता था. अबे यार देखना क्या कॉल किया है इसने. बेट क्या ही कॉल किया है इसने यार. जीत गया है ये बंदा यार. पहली बार मैंने बेट नहीं किया. और ये वेयर कोड यूट्यूबर, यू कैन सी द कोड अप ऑन योर चैट पिंड बाय हरी भाई. साइकडेलिक पिंड बाय मी, और कोड है साइकडेलिक का मतलब. यार यहाँ मेरे को स्लज बॉम्ब मारना था शायद, मेरे को पता नहीं है, मेरा रेडी था या नहीं था. ऑन द टॉप ऑफ द यस लाइव चैट. P7, yes, that was a code, and you will get another research tomorrow. If you already got the research and the t-shirt, don't redeem it again, bro. It's just a waste of time. It's a waste of time, proper waste of time, bhai. बच सकता है क्या गेम हमारा? अभी पता नहीं, लग तो नहीं रहा. मेडिचम क्यों नहीं है इसमें? साइकिक टाइप नहीं है सत्य भाई, साइकिक फाइटर नहीं है इसमें. हारे हुए हैं वैसे तो हम, बट अगर एरियलेस है यार उस पर ख़त्म है खेल. एरियलेस ना हो तो अलग बात है यार. 2 जीतना चाहिए बट मज़ा आ जाएगा. अरे बचा है, अभी भी बचा है. अर्ग भाई जी. अगर वो पहला मैंने एरियलेस मारा होता ना, सही स्ट्रीक चल रही थी अपनी. ये रिडीम कोड अगर आप यूज़ करोगे सत्या भाई, आपको टाइम रिसर्च मिलेगी. आपने एक भी रिडीम नहीं किया है क्या? और एक रिडीम कोड से आपको टी-शर्ट भी मिल रही है गेम में, वो भी कर सकते हो. वाई आर यू मेड भाई? इस मैड को भगाओ भाई पहले. कौन है भाई ये? ये वही है शायद, दूसरे आईडी वाले बंदे हैं यार ये. समझ रहे हो ऋतुराज भाई? हर कोई कॉल कर रहा है बेट यार. अब हर कोई बेट को समझ रहा है. चार जीत जाएंगे तो यार ज़्यादा प्लस हो जाएगी. जीतना चाहिए. हाज बंदे भाई बेवकूफ बंदे आ रहे हैं यार, ये ऐसा समझो। ओपी गेम प्ले, यही शायद दूसरे आईडी भी है शायद उसकी, हो सकती है, कंफर्म नहीं है। स्क्रैग मिरर करेगा कोई, देख लो। एंड दैट वाज अ गुड गेम, डबल शील्ड को नहीं हरा सकता वो। जी 2300 फिर से ऋतुराज भाई, कितनी बार 2300 गए हम इस महीने। आप डिस्कॉर्ड पे पूछना, शायद रिद्धि भाई को भी करना है या फिर हरी भाई हैं। हरी भाई का नहीं पता मेरे को ट्रेड के लिए, शायद रिद्धि भाई को करना था अगर ऋतुराज भाई से नहीं कराए तो। 2300 क्रॉस, 23वीं बार 2300 पार, बहुत बार। फाइटिंग कप में गया इस बार पार यार। मैच स्टार्ट हो रहा है, वो नहीं और उसका मैच लगाते हैं। और मेरी आवाज फिर कम आएगी है ना। डिस्कॉर्ड हटा दिया क्या भाई? ओ सत्य भाई फिर कैसे बात करूं?
Zero fighting Pokemon too, so very interesting situation here. I think trainers bring fairly meta Pokemon, maybe outside the
By Shadow Alolan Marowak,
again, the
finally.
team compositions where it gets really unique here.
Yeah, it looked like Stain kind of took one of Vani's fighters, and I'm just going to double up. But the problem is, Vani is running the Alolan Ninetales, and there's only one thing that can resist it. That is the Shadow Nidoqueen. So you're going to have to expect Shadow Nidoqueen is going to be in every game here, because the Alolan Ninetales is not just good against the Medicham and the Scrafty. It's good against the Walrein as well. It's neutral against the Azumarill, and it's neutral against the Trevenant.
Yeah, you do see that, but I think Stain's Scrafty actually looks really strong here too, because the only reliable check here is that Alolan Ninetales. I think we see Alolan Ninetales a lot, but we also see a lot of Scrafty.
मैंने भी Sableye ऐसे करा था।
In pretty much any of the matches
सुबह कर लिया कि अब डेली का चक्कर नहीं है।
And it's going to be a dance between the Alolan Ninetales and Scrafty, and this is not where you want to be if you're Alolan Ninetales met by the Shadow Nidoqueen lead here, and you swap into the Walrein. That is a good matchup, but you're met, and there it is, the Scrafty.
Yes, exactly. Scrafty having a very positive matchup here, and we see double fighting Pokemon in the back. This is going to be really interesting matchup here. And we get the Scrafty, which is super weak to that Alolan Ninetales being double weak to Fairy here. These Power Punches are going to start ramping up the damage on the Scrafty, but not before this Shadow Walrein gets another Icicle Spear off.
Oh no! And this is probably going to knock out the Scrafty here. No, it lives! What a call by Stain! Really precise, really composed, and now going for the power-up punch, though. If this gets no Protect shielded, it's going to be very close. Which fast move knocks out first? A counter, a Powder Snow. No, the counter knocks out!
Yeah, so I'm actually surprised we did not see a shield there. I feel like Vani could have potentially won switch advantage. Maybe Vani hoping to sweep the back-end matchup with that Sableye, and Sableye is the perfect Pokemon for that. It's going to do really well against the backline here, but we have the Shadow Nidoqueen throwing the Poison Vein. The Poison Vein gets caught on the Sableye, but this is actually not too bad here, because Stain really wants to start weakening the Sableye.
Yeah, great catch by Vani, but there's no answer for the Sableye. Nidoqueen and Medicham is weak to it, so throwing the Poison Vein to try to weaken it up a little bit so it can maybe get in range of an Ice Punch and counter down. There's 2 Protect Shields remaining. You would think you would have to use them here. You have to knock out the Sableye. No Protect Shield. And now this Medicham, I think it was charged with priority. It was going to be throwing his Ice Punch.
Yeah, you know, I actually like this play from Stain here. Putting everything on that Shadow Nidoqueen. Shadow Nidoqueen is going to do really well here against that Alolan Ninetales. Alolan Ninetales is going to generate energy pretty slowly here, and because this Sableye is already debuffed, this Medicham is starting to really add up damage here with these counters, and is going to spend the first shield here to guarantee at least getting off this Ice Punch.
Yeah, forced to throw energy here, and is charged with priority once again. So the Ice Punch, and it looks like Vani Sableye is in range because of that Poison Fang debuff. So having to give up the next Protect Shield. The thing is, this Sableye's energy dry, the timer isn't back up, so you have to get Shadow Clock down. But I think you're right. It all comes down to Shadow Nidoqueen here.
Yeah, Shadow Nidoqueen, even though these poison damage is resisted by the ghost typing of Sableye, it's going to generate a lot of energy off this, still having the shield, and these poison fangs are really going to hurt the Alolan Ninetales. Vani is forced to switch this Alolan Ninetales into this Shadow Nidoqueen and take a super effective Shadow Poison Fang.
Can the Alolan Ninetales hang on and survive? It needs to hang on, survive, and get to a Weather Ball. It needs one more charm before the poison. No! gets knocked out here. Now Shadow Nidoqueen is just going to jab the rest of the way. No, maybe Fang. Yes, last second Fang. No, the jab. Stain takes game number 1 with a Nidoqueen in double fighter team against the Alolan Ninetales.
Yeah, that really was an interesting matchup too, because it was really that third matchup, the Sableye against the Shadow Nidoqueen in Medicham, but it just had too much work for that Sableye to handle alone there. Really need that Alolan Ninetales get off that final weather ball there. Well, really the first weather ball as well, but unfortunately was not able to reach it against the Shadow Nidoqueen.
No, I think you're exactly right. The Medicham on Stain's side had nowhere to go because there was 2 counters to it. There was the Alolan Ninetales and the Sableye, but the Alolan Ninetales had nowhere to go. And because Shadow Nidoqueen counters the Alolan Ninetales so hard, I think that's why Stain won that game there, because just leaving the Protect Shield for that Shadow Nidoqueen, just finishing up with those poison things. Even when it's resisted, it just starts, those jabs and things just start adding up against anything.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, it was all resisted damage against that Sableye there. It was resisted counters, it was resisted poison jabs, resisted poison things. But even resisted damage is really going to add up, especially if you have the 1 versus 2 there with the Sableye.
Yeah, and the Ice Punch is not the greatest move, and it's not same type attack bonus, but once your Poison Fang, it starts adding up. You had to give up your Protect Shield just to survive from it. As we are getting into game number 2 here, we're going to see the leads. It's the Alolan Ninetales once again, but in a more neutral matchup, a fellow Fairy type, the Azumarill.
And again, we see Stain here actually with
भाई पूरी टीम 4 नंबर पे भी क्या स्विच करना चाहिए
यार really utilizing this strategy with the double fight Pokemon and is really paying off here, avoiding the Alolan Ninetales, which is the hardest matchup for those fighting Pokemon.
Yeah, really smart team compositions here by Stain, calling out the Alolan Ninetales leads and just hiding those fighting types in the back. And Vani's just staying in this matchup. It's not going to get any utility against those fighting types in the back. And trying to go on charge move priority here, I think was successful throwing this Psyshock.
Yeah, you know, and I think this puts Vani in a tough position because Vani can't really swap into anything very safe here. Maybe the Swampert here, but you don't really want to give up switch advantage because you have that Sableye in the back here too. Is going to actually let this play rough go through. So this is going to be very interesting. Vani does have the shield advantage here, and it's going to start farming down this Azumarill, but Stain still has a Scrafty in the back.
Yeah, the thing, the Azumarill is just too healthy here, so it's going to get to that play rough and get the Protect Shield. But now Vani is going to get so much momentum, going to shield this play rough and go for the Shadow Claw down. It's going to have a lot of energy. And, I mean, once you have this much energy, both of these fighting types don't love to take it because Return will do a lot, and then you don't want to match up the Medicham versus the Sableye.
Yeah, let's see if Stain actually decides to shield. Now does decide to let this Return go through. Scrafty, a very bulky Pokemon, still able to tank this Return here, and is going to let it go and starting to build up to that foul play. Let's see what Vani does here. Goes for another Return here. Do we see the shield from Stain or not?
And the thing is, you're so low health. I feel like you need to protect the Scrafty, but no, does not protect the Scrafty. You faint with all that energy here, and now it's such an uphill battle to finish off this Sableye. Resistant counters, and you just have to throw Ice Punches, but Vani is just putting so much into this Sableye. I think it's probably going to Protect Shield and Ice Punch as well, as you see the Protect Shield from Stain.
Yeah, I believe this might have been charged from priority here too, which is very unfortunate. Vani might just let this go. Exactly what's going to happen. Vani having the Shadow Swampert, and as you said, Shadow Swampert, one of the best closers in the game, especially with the shield advantage. This Shadow Swampert is going to have a good time against this Medicham.
It is running the Earthquake, so probably going to go straight for that because Hydro Cannon isn't quite enough. And we see the Ice Punch here come out from Stain. The Protect Shield advantage from the Shadow Swampert, able to Protect Shield that, and it's going to be able to get to this Earthquake and close out this match.
Even could honestly go for double Hydro Cannon here if Vani chose to hide that secondary move of Earthquake. Either way, Vani was in a very commanding position after that Sableye.
Let's go.
Yeah, that is sometimes a key factor, right? You don't want to give your opponent all the information if you don't have to. And that Hydro Cannon maybe was in range because Medicham, it takes almost about half the health out of a Medicham, the Shadow Swampert does. And an interesting thing to that point is Stain is also running the Play Rough and Hydro Pump on the Azumarill, which is a little more rare, but I don't think it was revealed. I think she ended up going straight Play Rough.
Yes, yes. That is absolutely true there. The Hydro Pump honestly is going to come in really handy against that Shadow Alolan Marowak if Vani ever decides to bring that.
Yeah, Rituraj bhai 1-1.
I don't know if that's going to work out or not here too. But let's see if Stain makes adjustment here.
अभी कोई भी जीत जाए कोई दिक्कत
still
नहीं
going
है.
to run the double fighters in the back here, or are they going to switch it up? Double fighters did look very strong, but again, Sableye with energy is super deadly.
Yeah, because in the first 2 games, both times Stain showed first game the Shadow Nidoqueen, second game the Azumarill, but then the 2 fighting types in the back both games, and then both games Vani just led the Alolan Ninetales, so was able to hide those fighting types in both games. And for game number 3, can you just like between game number 1 game number 2 you do a slight adjustment, but you need a full team composition adjustment here, not just run the 2 fighting types in the back.
Yeah, well, I think both trainers are locked in this team, so let's see how both trainers are going to adjust game 3. And we see Stain here running the Shadow Nidoqueen and double fighters again. Does not care about this matchup, and now comes in with a Registeel, which also doesn't even do that well against the Nidoqueen, but it's going to come in with the Scrafty instead. Scrafty going to ramp up a lot of damage here with these power punches.
The thing about the Registeel Say Swap is at least it might take a Protect Shield away from the Scrafty here. Going for the Focus Blast, not even baiting with the Zap Cannon. Oftentimes you do see the bait of the Zap Cannon, even though it's more energy, it does do up. And no, the no Protect Shield.
Almost there, white clutch.
Is this Scrafty in range of lockout? I think it's going to get locked on fully down.
Wow, okay,
Scrafty dead, भाई Medicham आ गया है और अभी Sableye आएगा.
This actually might really pay off for Stain
अभी
here
Zap Cannon
because
आएगा.
Stain understands that the Alolan Ninetales is going to be strongest in Medicham and maybe expects a Sableye in the back here. This is actually going to be really interesting because now it's going to be all on the Shadow Nidoqueen here. And Shadow, if this Medicham is going to throw a Psychic here at the Alolan Ninetales.
Stain pretty much sacrificed both of her fighting types here, and like you mentioned, it's all on Shadow Nidoqueen. They simultaneous swap. Vani kind of called the swap of the Shadow Nidoqueen there, and you're just going to try to go for Earth Power Energy and then throw the Poison Fang. You have to expect the Protect Shields no matter what from Vani.
Yeah, and this is so dangerous. I mean, building with that Earth Power is super crucial, and now you're forced to start shielding Poison Fangs here. And that first shield bait is crucial, and now Stain going straight for the Poison Fangs has no regard for even going for the base here or trying to fake the Earth Power, understanding that this extra damage adding up is going to be super crucial for this matchup.
Yeah, at this point, she already got the bait. She already got the debuff. Now she's just trying to take out this Sableye. I think the Sableye is already at 2 foul plays, so you're going to see 1 Protect Shield here. I think there's probably going to be a back-to-back coming out soon, and here comes the next foul play. You have to imagine, there it is, the second Protect Shield. Now, how does this Nidoqueen finish off the Sableye and also take out the entire Alolan Ninetales, or maybe 70% Alolan Ninetales?
Yeah, so throwing this final Poison Mate, this puts Vani in such a tough position because the Alolan Ninetales does not want to tank these poison jabs, and now is actually going to swap into this Alolan Ninetales. I don't know what I'm seeing right now, and now we see the Sableye clear the debuff, but also sacrifice the Alolan Ninetales in the situation.
This is actually what Stain and the Shadow Nidoqueen wanted. It got the matchup with the Alolan Ninetales. The thing is, can you Shadow Claw down? No, you tried to swap, but the problem is, do you get Shadow Claw down before the next one? You get Shadow Claw down, and Vani is able to bank a return. It is going to return the Shadow Nidoqueen back to its Pokeball with a knockout right here.
Let's go!
Wow, that was an incredible set. I really didn't know how that was going to play out there. Expected the potential shield on the Focus Blast, but letting that go and trying to sweep with the Shadow Nidoqueen, which almost worked there too. I think Stain was a little bit worried about potential Shadow Claw down against the Shadow Nidoqueen, so I totally understand why they swapped to the Medicham there, but that was wild there too.
क्या खेला भाई नेल वाइटिंग ऋतुराज भाई, वो अगर वो मैडी कर देता ना डे 1 स्ट्रीमिंग ना हो। हाँ भाई देख रहे हैं यार, मौज कर दी भाई। हाँ निडोक्वीन से वो कैच अगर वो हो जाता तो खेल खत्म था। वो कैच नहीं हुआ यार, वो उन्हें टच भी कर दिया था शायद, बट कैच रजिस्टर नहीं हुआ या क्या हुआ। कमबैक भाई, हाँ पहला हार के दोनों जीत गया बंदा यार। क्या खेला है, बढ़िया खेला यार, बहुत सही खेला, दोनों सही खेले। बट भाई सैबलाई प्योरीफाइड गलत है भाई। सैबलाई क्लच करता दोनों बार। ओ भाई ये क्या है, रिटर्न करवा दिया भाई, सही बात। आइस पंच स्काल्ड यार शील्ड दिलवाओ यार इससे यार, बहुत देर हो गई, सब शील्ड करते ही नहीं है भाई। कर दिया शील्ड फाइनली। लेट्स गो। स्विच मिल गया, स्विच 1 2 3 4 एरियल इस पे CMP भी हो गया भाई। मैडी निकाल जाता ना तो, अरे मैडी निकाल जाता है, कैच अगर हो जाता ऋतुराज भाई फुल प्ले मैडी पर, अरे यार क्या मस्त लगता है यार भाई। बहुत सही खेला यार वैनी ने, मतलब सब कुछ सोच रखा था ऐसा लगा यार उस टाइम पे। सही खेला, बहुत सही खेला यार। दोनों सभी बढ़िया खेल रहे हैं यार वैसे। अबे यार उस पे शील्ड है यार, गलती ये है, शील्ड है उस पे। इसका अटैक भी ज़्यादा है यार, अटैक स्टैट्स ज़्यादा हैं यार इसके बहुत। आई थिंक फार्म डाउन हो जाएगा ये, है ना, या हो गया है। जी लैग ने बचाया भाई, लैग ने बचाया। लेट्स गो। वन मोर लाइक 220 हो जाएंगे भाई। अगला मैच कब है यार? मुझे 2 का देखना है यार। हरी भाई कल खेलता है, आज अगर क्वालिफाई कर गया तो कल किंग वगैरह सबके साथ कॉम्पीट करेगा यार वो। क्या कम और पता नहीं क्या पता कंपटीशन के बीच में से आके वो चीर के निकल जाए। सोचो यार ऋतुराज भाई, हरी भाई नहीं खेल रहा था, मतलब क्वालिफाई नहीं किया, आया पहले दिन क्वालिफाई करे, दूसरे दिन करे, तीसरे दिन करे, जीत जाए भाई। सोचो अगर ऐसा कर दिया ना 2 ने भाई, भाई हिस्ट्री बन जाएगी यार। कहाँ से आया बंदा यार। फर्स्ट मैच जीता, लास्ट दोनों में शायद ऐसा ही कुछ हुआ था, हाँ शायद से। बड़ा ही ग्लासी हो गया ना यार ये तो, जो भी है सामने। राइस ही जीतेगा, लिख के ले लो हरी भाई। ऋतुराज भाई कह रहे हैं, बताओ लिख रहे हैं या फिर मैं लिखूं? हरी भाई लिख रहे हो, मैं लिखूं? बैटरी 29 है। नहीं यार मजाक कर रहा था, कहीं नहीं ऋतुराज भाई। अगर राइस जीता तो भाई मैं सीरियसली ना लो, मैं एक लेवल 50 बनाऊंगा, और अगर राइस नहीं जीता तो आप एक लेवल 50 बनाओगे, हमारी मर्जी का। डन डन डना डन डन। बोलो ऋतुराज भाई, शर्त मंजूर है। लगान वाली शर्त देख लेना, दुगना लगान लेंगे भाई। शर्त नहीं है ये, शरत है ये। दुगना डस्ट, ठीक है। कौन है ये? नहीं डन भाई, अरुण भाई नहीं यार, अच्छा खेलता है यार वो। ये ऐसे यार ऐसे कहोगे क्या? वो अच्छी बात है क्या ये? ऐसी बात करोगे यार ऋतुराज भाई? अब मेरे डस्ट के बीच नहीं यार, ये तो फ्रेंडली चैलेंज है यार। अगर कहीं आप जीत गए तो आपका दुगना लगाना माफ़ कर देंगे, पर अगर आप हार गए तो आपको दुगना स्टारडस देना पड़ेगा। 1 मिलियन खर्च एकदम। ऋतुराज भाई सोचो, आप पे तो है, हमको तो इकट्ठा करके खर्च करना पड़ेगा। लगान, एक दिन लगान देखते हैं डिस्कॉर्ड पे बैठ के यार वापस से। अरे हम तो मजाक कर रहे थे यार ऋतुराज भाई, आपने बना दिया तो हम क्या ही कर सकते हैं यार। शील्ड दे दे यार, शील्ड कर दे यार, शील्ड कर दे यार, ओ यार शील्ड कर दे भाई, बेहतरीन। मेरा यार है शील्ड करने के लिए। एरिया रेस, बूम, शील्ड एडवांटेज किसी पे नहीं, स्विच एडवांटेज अपने पास। मेरे को बनाना है यार, अपने पे भी डस्ट नहीं है यार, सही कह रहे हो आप। यू आर राइट, यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट। गड़बड़ हो गई थोड़ी सी, डबल ड्रैगन क्लोन आ गया उसके। एक दो एंड वी आर रेडी टू गो। जी मैच स्टार्ट हो रहा है भाई, चलो यार। हम बैक टू बैक 3 जीतते हैं, फिर मैच खेलने चले जाते हैं ऋतुराज भाई। क्या पता यार हम 5 जीत जाएं, बट हमारा फ्लो रुक जाता है यार थोड़ा सा।
Pokemon Go, and we have Fairy and normal type Wigglytuff. We have Bastion. This is a wild team. There's no water types. There's no grass types. There's no a lot of things. There's no flying types, but it's super interesting. I'm very curious how first El Capitan is going to play this team.
This team is wild, and Como-O is actually looking really good. But I'm going to go ahead and read Maxi's team. The Purified Sableye, the Swampert, the Walrein, the Araquanid, which we saw a little bit earlier as well, the Talonflame, and the Registeel. And at first glance, I think the Como-O looks solid because it's decent against Sableye because it resists foul plays. It's going to resist the bug bites of the Araquanid. It's going to resist the Incinerate from the Talonflame. It's going to resist the Hydro Cannons from the Swampert. Only thing it has to worry about is the Walrein, and it does super effective damage against Registeel.
Yeah, we're going to have to see a lot of Walrein here, but Walrein's going to be weak to that
ऊपर वाला टीम लेगा
Cresselia is going to do very well with the grass on coverage. The Bastion is going to do really well, and that Wigglytuff is going to be pretty neutral. So this is going to be an interesting match for sure. You know, honestly, looking at Maxi's team, if I just saw that team alone, I say, you know, this is fairly spicy. You got the Talonflame, you don't see a lot of fire in this meta. You got the Araquanid, but I'm looking at first El Capitan's team. We're pretty much at habanero levels of spice at this point.
Yeah, Ghost Pepper out here. It's a tough comparison here because you really never see Como-O. You see a little bit of Wigglytuff. You have seen the Cresselia, Diggersby core, but then also just slap on Bastion on at the end of that one. And look at this core actually. Como-O, Bastion, pretty good core. Am I right?
It's very strong, and you know I'm super excited to be have the opportunity to even cast this matchup because it's so wild here. You know, and you're saying Ghost Pepper here. We're going to start running out of peppers soon if we keep going up in spice levels. But again, this is last chance qualifiers on day 1 of Pokemon Go World Championships in London, and people are on the line. They're trying to earn their spot for World Championships. And honestly, if I already qualified and I'm backstage watching these battles, I don't know how to prepare for these upcoming battles, seeing everything that I'm seeing today.
Yeah, you might have to rethink everything. And that's the exciting part about having these last chance qualifiers, because these trainers that have been developing strategies throughout the seasons can kind of come here, fly over to London, and unleash it. And right now, if I was Maxi, I wouldn't know what to do against first El Capitan, but I think she will be prepared. I think she will have a strategy, and we are going to be locking into this game number 1 here of Maxi versus first El Capitan. and it's there it is. It's that Como O versus the Swampert.
Yeah, and what a great lead for Como O.
लीड ओपी है भाई, Swampert हाइड्रो
Hydro cannons only
एक earthquake से वन शॉट नहीं कर पाएगा यार.
But you can see these
Ultra में तो नहीं कर पाता इसका पता
really
नहीं.
adding up here and starting to throw the Dragon Claw before Maxi is able to throw any charge moves.
Shield
But
नहीं
did go
करनी
ahead
चाहिए
and get
यार.
the close combat energy, but really good
ठीक है,
call
अभी
here
earthquake
to
shield करना
no
चाहिए
shield
उनको
that
भाई साहब.
Dragon Tail and just unleash the earthquake. This Como O has to respect it. It cannot take an earthquake. It's not the
करना
bulkiest
चाहिए यार.
Pokemon, and it
नहीं
does
किया.
take the earthquake and gets
Boom
knocked
होता हुआ
out.
Great League है.
Wow, okay, so I think
Cresselia,
the strategy here-
Cresselia.
Oh, and we actually see the swap to
बेहतरीन.
wall right here, and this is actually what first El Capitan exactly wants to
भाई
see. The wall
Cresselia
is going to be
core
super strong against the Diggersby here,
core
but now
बेगर भैया,
first
चल
El
बढ़िया.
Capitan is going to have a great matchup.
Yeah, and here comes a super effective
साहब.
grass knot here, and the
Same
wall
सही
rain
time है यार ये.
running a team
निकल
kind
लेना
of
चाहिए
ABA
एक और मार के भाई.
to wall rain, but able to match up the
Cresselia
Cresselia
कर देगा,
into
ऐसा
it,
लग रहा है
and this earthquake is going to be coming out, and Cresselia, one of the bulkiest Pokemon in Open Great League, takes it no problem. Doesn't even do half of the remaining health.
Yeah, I think first El Capitan is feeling
Cresselia
very good in the
speed.
situation. Maxi is forced to shield this Grass Knot. We actually see an undercharge from Grass Knot, but it's not going to matter because the shield does come out from Maxi's end.
Yeah, and here comes one more move here. That is the Grass Knot, and it's going to be going into the... Oh, no, sorry. The Icicle Spear does come out first here, and it goes on to Cresselia. Does get Protect shielded, and I think it was Charge Move priority. It is Charge Move priority.
Yeah, and we do see the final shield coming out from Maxi here. I think Maxi understanding maybe what might be in the back here, and it's going to be really tough if this Diggersby is locked into his matchup here. And we see the final Icicle Spear coming out here against this Cresselia. Does force El Capitan shield, does spend this final shield against the Icicle Spear.
Yeah, and now the Protect Shields are down, swapping in the Swampert to try to soak this energy possibly, and effectively does so, and catches this Grass Knot. Doesn't charge it because it doesn't need to. It's double super effective anyway. That's going to knock out the Swampert here. This Cresselia is low. Maybe you come in with the Sableye, the Shadow Claw down, but I think that Cresselia will get to a Moonblast first.
Yeah, but here's the tricky part here too. Cresselia is not locked in this matchup, whereas Maxi Sableye is, so banking the energy on the Grass Knot, having it ready for the wall rain, and now coming in with the Diggersby. Diggersby resisting the ghost damage here, and is going to build up a lot of energy.
सही दिख रहे हैं यार.
Yeah, and the Cresselia, Sableye, half of the remaining health of the Diggersby
सोच रहा हूँ Discord पे notification डाल दूँगा 2 का मैच होगा.
Even though this is same type of
final
attack,
होगा तो
it's
final
a
के भी डाल
really
देंगे यार.
hard-hitting
Final के भी
move.
डाल देंगे.
It just doesn't train attack strong enough, and Sableye holds on, needs to get to a return to do enough, but no, goes for the foul play first. This definitely is not going to be enough to knock out the Diggersby.
Yeah, foul play is going to be neutral as well as his return, but expecting not to reach the return just like you mentioned, and actually goes for the combo play here. This actually might be the win condition Maxi This Cresselia is going to have to farm up a little extra energy to have something for that Sableye here, and I think that's exactly... No, it looks like first El Capitan is going to throw this Grass Knot first, and this is going to be really bad spot for first El Capitan because now Maxi might be able to just Shadow Claw down this Cresselia.
Yeah, this is the trouble. You need to get to a Grass Knot. Can you hold on from the Shadow Claws? And we are not sure yet. No, the Shadow Claws does take out the Cresselia in game number 1. I believe goes to Maxi there.
Finish off that Cresselia there. And, you know, I think that was a really interesting play from Maxi. I think playing it really well, understanding did not really have the alignment that they wanted there, but saving the Icicle Spear full of energy, able to snipe down that Diggersby. And the tricky part is because first El Capitan saved up energy on the Cresselia, the switch timers are misaligned. So El Capitan could even swap out even if anticipating the wall ring to come in.
Right, that was such a crazy game down the stretch. There were so many charge moves thrown, so many swaps out, but it kind of came down to the beginning too. I believe the Como O just let itself go to that Earthquake, trying to call a huge bait on the Hydro Cannon, but first El Capitan just let it go and knocked out the Como O because you really needed that healthy. It's probably one of your strongest Pokemon against Maxi.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there too. Maybe expecting the wall rain in the back and not wanting to give us shield advantage there. It almost played out in first El Capitan's favor because Maxi gave up the switch advantage they had to avoid getting farmed down Cresselia there against the Swampert.
Right, and what are the adjustments in game number 2 here? I mean, Maxi definitely did not prepare for this team. This 2 cores, I mean, first of all, the Cresselia Diggersby core is an oldie but a goodie core in the Pokemon Go meta. In a new core, an intervention here from first El Capitan, the Bastiodon and Como O core. How do you handle that too? I mean, you took game number 1, but
first
I mean, it could have been in first El Capitan's hands.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Max पे जा रहे हो या फिर first पे जा
how
रहे
do you
हो?
prepare for
First
that
या
course?
Max
You don't even
बताओ.
see it very often. I don't even have a Como myself. Like, it's just so new in Pokemon Go that you might not even face it very often. So how do you even prepare for that as you're preparing for these last chance qualifiers? But I think Maxi really playing well there, despite maybe not having the matchup they wanted, but maneuvering around and saving the energy for the right situations really paid off.
Right, Sableye was really good for Maxi in game number 1. Looks like we are going to have a lock-in for game number 2, and it will be the Walrein versus Cresselia, so this is a perfect lead for first El Capitan.
Yeah, first El Capitan having that Como-O in the back end here too. We see a safe swap on the Sableye, but this is exactly what you do not want to see. The Wigglytuff comes in resisting all these Shadow Claws, and Wigglytuff's so bulky here too. Able to charm down the Sableye. Sableye, one of the strongest Pokemon in Open Great League, but it does not want to see a Wigglytuff. It does not want to see Charm. It does not want to see Fairies, and that's unfortunately exactly what Maxi got here.
And Wigglytuff takes that matchup. It still has some health. It needs to get to a charge move. It is kind of close. Gonna get to the Play Rough pretty soon before the Icicle Spear here, and you have to respect this. This Play Rough will do a decent amount of damage, so Maxi probably will throw up the Protect Shield, and there it is.
Yeah, so not only losing switch advantage, but also losing shield advantage. Does get a lot of energy, but at what cost? You see the Walrein lower than half his health to start with, but it has close to 100 energy as well. But Cresselia can also handle these Icicle Spears quite well, and you have the Como in the back, and Como
double shield नहीं देनी कैपिटन पिछली बार जैसे नहीं.
If you want a neutral Pokemon to absorb all this Walrein damage, Cresselia is your Pokemon. And swapping on a Grass Knot. What a swap there from Maxi. This is double
उसने इस बार भाई देख लिया कि यार ये Sableye क्लच मार रहा है. Sableye का जुगाड़ करते
what he
हैं.
wants to see here. So Como is going to resist all these Incinerates, but the Brave Bird is super effective. But we actually see the Como throwing
Shield ना करके Brave Bird ऐसा लग रहा है मुझको, है ना? आपको कैसा लग रहा है?
And so going to do a good chunk of damage to his Talonflame.
No Protect Shields, just going to try to get to the Brave Bird, going to try to take a Protect Shield here and finish the game with Walrein. Doesn't want to, and does throw that Brave Bird here. You do get that Protect Shield. Seems like first El Capitan's going to easily Dragon Tail down here. And the thing is, you're just going to get to energy. You're almost out of Dragon Claw. This Walrein is almost at 100 energy. Was this charge move priority?
Big CMP भाई.
Yeah, now this is
Shield
so
होगा,
tough
करना ही होगा
Maxi
भाई.
almost
Extra charge में फंस गया आपका Max.
I think the Como might even survive the Icicle Spear too. So we'll see right here because it was charged priority here. But yeah,
Como आ गया रे भाई. Ultra में ज़्यादा OP लगा यार बट मेरे को.
Undercharging a little bit here. Wants some extra farm.
Undercharge.
Look how much health is on the Cresselia. I don't even know you can farm this down before the Como takes it out. Barely gets the farm down, but you need about 300 energy to take out this Cresselia.
I mean, you are going to get the 3 Icicle Spears. This is a strong move, but like you mentioned, it just doesn't phase the Cresselia. Gonna throw the Earthquake just to throw the remainder of the energy. Don't want to get knocked out to a Psycho Cut there, but Cresselia just standing tall, taking that right on the chin. And first El Capitan is gonna get a Psycho Cut down to win game number 2.
Yeah, you know,
confusion Cresselia चला रहा है भाई. क्या कहा था मैंने भाई? Come back or what?
Catch the Como game here with the Walrein, and so far it's been really tough to find that matchup that Maxi wants here. But that's why it's such a tough matchup, such a great team composition for El Capitan here, because El Capitan has the advantage here. Just needs to avoid the Walrein, and you're going to be in a great spot here. And so far, it's been working out very well for him.
Yeah, games number 1 and 2, he made perfect calls. I mean, game number 1, he led the Como, but let it go. Game number 2, he not only called the lead, but just was like, I dare you to bring out that Sableye. It brought the Wigglytuff in the back. Cresselia baited it out, wiggled it down, and took that matchup and just had perfect alignment throughout. So able to keep that alignment in game number 2, unlike game number 1.
Here's where the mind games really sets in. I think first El Capitan maybe does not even bring the Como to game 3 because at this point for Max, you're expecting him to say, oh my gosh, this guy's bringing Como every time. I need to somehow bring the Walrein, but maybe have 3 Walrein counters here to really throw off Maxi. Could be the play as well.
Yeah, it's a अजीब
क्वेश्चन पूछे जाएंगे जैसे मान लो 20 लोग क्वालीफाई कर रहे हैं तो 20 लोगों से अलग-अलग क्वेश्चन
Bastiodon, and then Walrein just has nowhere to go. I mean, but the thing is, the Walrein can throw that Earthquake against the Bastion. It is a rival strategy, but I think I heard Gabby mention earlier a fantastic strategy in all of the Pokemon games. When you have a good Pokemon, use it. So I think Como might make an appearance in game number 3 here.
Yeah, you know, sometimes that Como is just too strong here too. So for those at home,
defending champions,
is it worth it to make this Como? It's so expensive. It's a new Pokemon. I might have to spend some rare candies here, but Como is looking very, very strong. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of world competitors here are also weak to Como. They're scratching their heads. Maybe I should start bringing some fairy types. Maybe I should start bringing the Walrein here.
The meta is just shifted so much since the start of this season, and now it's crazier than ever, which is the opposite of what you expect. You expect early on for it to be wild, and then slowly the off-meta Pokemon just get kind of shoved out of the meta, and then condensed meta form, it solidifies. It's the opposite. It's just everything is new. It seems like every single trainer in this last chance qualifier is bringing a new strategy as we get into game number 3. Here's the Medicham versus the Swampert.
Yeah, and we actually see that first El Capitan actually does not bring the Como in this matchup, and actually is running a Power Punch, Ice Punch combination on this Medicham.
Really unique moveset. You would see usually Psychic always on the Medicham here, so gonna go for that bait. Maxi does not want to give up a protection. He's already got Earthquake. Maybe gonna go for the double Hydro. No, going for the big Earthquake instead. This is gonna be an impactful call by first El Capitan and no Protect Shield on it.
No Protect Shield here. This is going to be actually really good for Maxi here. If you look at the back Pokemon for Maxi, you see the Walrein, you see the Registeel, the two Pokemon that Medicham actually wants to match up against. Let's see if first El Capitan maneuvers around this matchup, not having almost 2 Power Punches ready.
Yeah, the Registeel in the back. The problem is Registeel hasn't been any of these games. So first El Capitan thinks, okay, I can let my Medicham go because I mean, I'm not worried about Registeel in the back. But look, Wigglytuff and Cresselia went no part of Registeel, and now an ambitious counter down from the wall. From the Walrein, they just met with counters and a power up punch.
Yeah, this is going to be super interesting here. First El Capitan is in a tough matchup with that Registeel in the back, but if you look, it's almost just a Registeel at this point too. And actually comes in with Cresselia here and able to tank a lot of these moves. Does have a shield advantage on this Registeel here too, catching the Grass Knot, which honestly, it doesn't even really matter what move this is. They need to, first El Capitan just needs to throw as many moves as possible against this Registeel, and actually comes in with the Wigglytuff here. These charms are resistant, but charm damage is still going to add up.
That's a Maxi special right there. Swapping in on that grass knot into resistant damage, but there's only one Protect Shield remaining for Wigglytuff. And suddenly these charms are not going to do as much damage because you take the Zap Cannon there. But the thing is, you still have to invest energy to finish off this Wigglytuff.
Yeah, and this is the downside of Registeel, which thankfully there is a downside to Registeel because it's already so strong, but these lock-ons are not putting any fasting pressure on here.
एक दिन के लिए करना पड़ेगा ऋतुराज भाई, सोचो यार, नहीं तो भाई जैसे जो वीसी से जाएगा ना कहेगा भाई अगला मेरा नंबर है, जैसे क्लास में हरी भाई रोल नंबर ए वाले से पूछते हैं भाई क्या पूछा टीचर, क्या पूछ रहा है बता ना, गलत हो जाएगा,
which they do. Cresselia is now going to be in a situation where
यार Cresselia Registeel बड़ा ही बोरिंग और बड़ा ही गंदा है.
That's a huge problem for first El Capitan. The Zap Cannon is almost there. Throwing the Moonblast first, maybe you do give up the Protect Shield. I know it's resisted, but it's not debuffed yet. And then no, just letting it go, taking the Moonblast. That just does nothing against the Registeel. And here comes the Zap Cannon too, lowered the attack stage of the Cresselia, and there comes the Protect Shield.
Yeah, that's a big shield here too, because Zap Cannon is going to hit a lot of damage. Still debuffing the Cresselia here, but this is an interesting position. The Walrein does have energy here, so I think Maxi is still in a very commanding position. Now, we said that the lock-ons don't do a lot of damage.
और अगर गलती से भी अल्फाबेट वाइज हो तो
सोचो as well here too.
But the problem here is even if you double debuff the attack stage, Walrein's quite low.
Max
it still might get knocked out by a Grass Knot. I know it's not same type attack bonus, but this Walrein's getting dangerously low. So Cresselia does have a win condition. It just needs to maybe get the 2 charge moves and decides to go for the Grass Knot. I think there's no way the Registeel gets knocked out here.
Yeah, and here's the problem. The switch timers are up too, so I expect the Walrein to come in soon.
अभी अगर Grass Knot आ गया,
actually building up to see if they can get to that Zap Cannon. It does actually get Zap Cannon, so does not even need the Walrein here. Maxi able to close out game number 3, and I think maybe Gabby's advice was correct
उसमें होगा क्या है फिर उसमें क्या है इजी है उस तरह से जी जी यार अगर ये फार्म डाउन हो जाता यार अगर ये फार्म डाउन हो जाता तो CM पे आता क्रेजी मैच यार दोनों बढ़िया खेले यार
adjustment there from Maxi didn't bring Registeel in game number 1 and 2 brought it in game number 3 and just dominated the back line took out the Wigglytuff and the Cresselia slowly but did take it out.
Yeah, you know, and you know, props to
पोकीकोड भाई पोकीकोड उधर है ना डिजोर्जे पोकीकोड भाई ऊपर है थोड़ा खुद को कॉन्फिडेंस ओके न्यू कोड आएगा शायद ये पिछले घंटे का है ना डिजोर्जे द लेटेस्ट कोड इज ऑलरेडी पिन्ड देयर ब्रो यू कैन चेक देयर इट इज ऑलरेडी पिन्ड VVRBF QV7S4 BQP हो जाए भाई मजा आएगा यार। अब आपको ये दोनों क्वेश्चन पता है ना, ये आप दोनों से तो नहीं पूछने वाला भाई। अरे भाई टीम में ये हो जाएगा ना, थोड़ा बजर वगैरह का सीन हो जाएगा भाई। मैंने पहले दबाया था बजर, मैंने पहले ये वाला सीन नहीं होना चाहिए। और अगर हमारी बेट काम कर गई तो हम जीत गए यार, पता है। टीम ही कर लो। हाँ भाई, हाँ देखेंगे यार हरी भाई उसका फॉर्मेट, ऋतुराज भाई उसका फॉर्मेट देखना पड़ेगा यार कैसा होगा। फॉर्मेट सही हुआ तो कर लेंगे, सब कुछ सही देखना पड़ेगा यार। क्वेश्चन वगैरह तो साथ में बैठ के करेंगे यार। मतलब आप दोनों के लिए तो अलग क्वेश्चन होंगे। अब आपको कोई ये ना कर दे कि भाई 100-200 ज़्यादा ले लो, आंसर बता दो, वो वाला सीन ना हो जाए बस। है हरी भाई? बैक एट स्ट्रीम यूनिक भाई, क्विज करा रहे हैं भाई, टीम क्विज जल्दी ही। पोकेमोन को क्विज सेम टीम रखें क्या? पहले वाले बंदे हैं सारे, ये नहीं पता मेरे को। RUR से खतरा है मेरे को। सत्या भाई नहीं है यार उधर, बट ये गलत चीज़ हो गई है। डिस्कॉर्ड लीव कर दिया उन्होंने। मेरे को लग रहा था स्विच करना चाहिए। पूछो क्विज, ऐसे नहीं होगा, टीम क्विज होगा। पूछो क्विज एंड प्राइज हरी भाई और ये बताएंगे यार आपको, ऋतुराज भाई। हाँ वो देख लेंगे यार हम। हरी भाई वो तो टीम बनाएंगे ना, उस हिसाब से कर लेंगे। इस बार रखना पड़ेगा भाई प्राइज, वरना पब्लिक भाई प्राइज कर करके दिक्कत दे देगी भाई। दैट वाज अ गुड गेम भाई। मैं किसकी टीम में देखेंगे यार भाई, वो सब देखेंगे जल्दी। ये क्वालिफायर ख़त्म हो दो, ये क्या कहते हैं, वर्ल्ड्स ख़त्म हो दो यार, फिर देखते हैं। प्राइज हरी भाई दे रहे हैं। ऋतुराज भाई कह रहे हैं हरी भाई दे, मैं कह रहा हूँ बताओ हरी भाई कह रहे, ऋतुराज भाई बता रहे। ऋतुराज भाई कह रहे हैं हरी भाई दे रहे हैं। अब ऋतुराज भाई ने तो हरी भाई पे डाल दिया है, अब हरी भाई आप किसी और पे डाल दो भाई। प्राइस कोई और दे रहा है। 1 ईयर कम्युनिटी डे पास, ओ भाई पूरे साल 1 मेंबरशिप गिफ्ट कर दूंगा। अरे भाई देखेंगे हरी भाई, देखेंगे यार, इस बार करेंगे कुछ, है ना मस्त सा। मैंने ऋतुराज भाई ने हरी भाई पे, हरी भाई ने किसी पे नहीं डाला। बट अरे 1 ईयर के लिए, बट हरी भाई ये भी तो देखो यार। सुपर पार क्यों सील्ड करता हूँ मैं इसका हर बार यार, गलत सील्ड करता हूँ यार हर बार मैं। मड बॉम्ब वन मंथ ओनली भाई। देखेंगे यार हरी भाई, या फिर मैं कह रहा हूँ वेट करते हैं, सही सही प्राइस पुल रखेंगे, ठीक है? तो बंदे भी ऐसे आएंगे ना टूट फूट के एकदम। पर मैं नहीं खेलूंगा क्योंकि अब मेरे को सारे आंसर पता है यार। लोग कहेंगे यार अरुण भाई ये तो चीटिंग कर रहे हो यार आप, आपको आंसर पता है, अपने सारा पेपर ही आपने सेट किया है, ये तो चीटिंग है। चीटिंग 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 भाई। डैमेज देखो, क्रॉस चॉप रेजिस्ट कर रहा हूँ फिर भी भाई डैमेज देखो भाई। आपको भी नहीं खेलना पड़ेगा। नहीं नहीं, आप सबके लिए तो मैं अलग क्वेश्चन बना लूँगा, बट हाँ मेरा फंस जाएगा सीन थोड़ा सा। मैं नहीं खेलने का, बट कोई नहीं। अरे भाई सही से हो जाए यार, यही सही है। वरना भाई मैं रात को आऊँगा, भाई मैं कल सुबह आऊँगा, भाई पहले मेरा करा दो, यही चलता है भाई हमारे यहाँ, पता ही है आपको। एंड दैट वाज अ गुड सेट भाई, क्रेजी सेट। मैं तो 10 साइन लेजेंडरी रखो, 100 बंदे रेडी हो जाएंगे, लालच होपी। अरे नहीं भाई, पोकेमॉन के लिए नहीं होते। और यूनिक यार, आप डिस्कॉर्ड पे हो यार, ये बताओ कितनी अजीब बात बोल रहे थे। साइन के भी कौन सा कोऑर्डिनेट होते हैं भाई? है भाई, स्टार पीस लगाया जाए क्या? थोड़ा एक वेस्ट करा जाए स्टार पीस, क्या बोलती पब्लिक? 3 मिनट का टाइमर है उधर, लगा दूं क्या स्टार पीस? एक लगाया जाए क्या? हाँ 5000 तो ये है और 2000 इधर है। रिडीम कोड नॉट वर्किंग, इनसेन एक बार ही करेगा। एक बार आपको टाइम रिसर्च मिल गई और टी शर्ट मिल गई, उसके बाद कल मिलेगी टाइम रिसर्च भाई। कल के कोड और कुछ भी आएगा उसके लिए अलग स्ट्रीम करेंगे कल यार। कर दिया जाएगा, आई थिंक कर देते हैं। स्टार पीस लगा देते हैं यार। कितने एम पे? वैसे तो वाइल्ड में लगाने ज़्यादा सही है ना यार। 6 स्टार पीस ख़राब करने बेकार होगा यार। छोड़ो 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 छोड़ो। 8000 ओ पी 8100 भाई साहब, देख रहे हो क्या? क्रेजी स्टारडस्ट गेन, 13000 स्टारडस्ट क्रॉस कर गए हम इस सेट पे भाई। टेलीग्राम बंदे रोज रहते हैं जो शायद नहीं मिले, कोऑर्डिनेटर तो मिल गया तो अच्छा, नहीं तो कोई नहीं। ऐसा नहीं होता यार, लीड बेकार मिलनी शुरू हो गई है भाई, बेकार मिलनी शुरू हो गई है। इसलिए गलती से इधर भेज दिया। कोड्स मत भेजा करो यार यूनिक, डिस्कॉर्ड पे आप भेजो कोऑर्डिनेट वगैरह, कहीं भी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। एक टैप पीछे रह गए हम। इस पे 2 मूव है क्या? पता नहीं मेरे को क्या क्या मूव है इस पे यार। बॉडी स्लैम, ये मैच गया भाई, आई थिंक ये मैच गया, खत्म है यार। लीड पे नहीं मिलना चाहिए यार ये। यार ओवर टैप यार, ये मैच हार गया यार। ओवर टैप क्यों हुआ ये यार? मैं हमेशा ऋतुराज भाई लेफ्ट साइड देख के यार उधर ओवर टैप मार देता हूँ यार। क्या ही गंदा सीन है यार अपना, क्या ही गंदा सीन है यार। उधर ओवर टैप करने का सीन ही गलत है यार। अपने को शील्ड मिलता और हम जीत चुके होते यार, बताओ क्या करें यार। ये गलती होती है यार, फिर मैच फंस जाते हैं यार। क्यों ओवर टैप हुआ यार वो बताओ। अब कुछ नहीं हो सकता यार, नहीं पहुंच सकते हम। ओवर टैप क्यों करा यार? भूल जाते हैं ना, डबल मूव करना पड़ेगा। या तो मैं लेफ्ट साइड टैप कर देता हूँ फर्स्ट मूव, समझ गए? या तो डबल मूव करना सही है, या फिर ये बेकार है। एक्सपर्ट का बंदा है। इस पे कौन कौन से पंच आते हैं ये भी नहीं पता मेरे को, सारे पंच आते हैं ना इसको। पावर अपडेट, पहला शील्ड नहीं करना चाहिए टमोनचैन से, ये तो मैं सीख गया यार आज में। अननोन अभी नहीं है ना वैभव, उधर अभी नहीं है, उधर कल थे भाई, अब नहीं है। एक स्काल सरवाइव कर लेंगे ना हम। अभी भी हैं सही में। ओ भाई क्रेजी सीन। ब्रेव बर्ड ना हो इस पे यार, होगा तो नहीं। एक और एक और एक और एक और जी एंड दैट वाज अ गुड गेम भाई। अभी मैच स्टार्ट होगा, अभी कमेंट्री स्टार्ट हो चुकी है यार। वहाँ कल गायब हो गए थे स्पॉन यार, इसलिए बोल रहा था मैं वैभव। And the worst lead continues. उसका थ्रो करने का वेट करें क्या? थ्रो करने का अभी शायद हम 2 पहुंच जाए हैं ना। अबे यार ओवर टैप, फिर ओवर टैप यार। ये ओवर टैप ने तो आज सही में दिमाग ख़राब कर दिया यार। ओवर टैप ने दिमाग ख़राब कर दिया है। और थ्रो लीड तो बहुत ही गंदी है यार। ओवर टैप ने 2 बार कर दिया ये। कुछ वीक है, ड्रैगन ही है क्या पीछे? देखते हैं। क्लोज कॉम्बैट सही है, क्लोज कॉम्बैट भी चला रहे हैं बंदे। एरियल एस नहीं बना पाया गेम। यार ये एनिमेशन क्या गड़बड़ है यार। जी भाई क्या खेला, बेकार लीड से 2 मैच और खेलने हैं यार, फिर देखते हैं। मैच स्टार्ट हो चुका है यार वैसे। आओ भाई मैच देखते हैं। वापस आके अब 2 मैच जीतने पड़ेंगे यार, इस बार वापस आके 2 मैच जीतने हैं। ये क्या नोटिफिकेशन दे रहे हैं यार। ऋतुराज भाई ड्रॉ ही कर देते यार, माइनस तो नहीं होती, पता है आपको? 2 चीजें और एक ड्रॉ पे माइनस नहीं होती है। अगर ये सेट पॉजिटिव किया ना मजा आ जाएगा, सही में मजा ही आ
community just because it was so easy to see so many of them out in the wild and, you know, find the one you want to run for the competition. And Altaria does get access to fairy type moves which are super effective against it, but for now we're not going to see that matchup play out as it's Medicham versus Swampert out on the field for this game 1.
And we see arguably the most powerful counter fast attack user in Medicham squaring off against the
Kings और जो सब
रीजनल वाले हैं ना, early on. We know our counts, we know this is not quite psychic level energy.
जो सेकंड भी आते हैं मतलब फाइनल वाले सबका मैच कल है, इनमें से 2 जने शायद उनके साथ खेलेंगे। एक तरह से भी क्वालीफायर चल रहे हैं, एक और मौका मिल रहा है सबको, इसलिए 2 टैक्टिकल भी हैं। उम्मीद करते हैं यार पहुंच जाए यार, वो मजा आ जाएगा।
And we do see that protect shield that Medicham from any kind of potential damage. Medicham looking for a potential counter down, but no, Swampert striking again here, and a no shield on the Earthquake. Wow.
Yeah, I really like how Lamy played that. You know, the Swampert used energy for that first Hydro Cannon, got enough energy back to get to the Earthquake, and then left that Medicham in the red. Now has the opportunity to try and switch and possibly keep an advantage here, but Roots is going to be able to adjust. First, just throwing that Psychic into the Medicham on Lamy's side of the field.
Altaria, Medicham, और उसको दोनों को चबा जाएगी,
absorbing that Psychic type damage, and it does not trigger a defense drop, which is also promising news. And we see an interesting moveset here for that shiny Medicham as well.
I think this is the first power up we've seen on Medicham, at least in a very long time here today. Trevenant, though, not going to take damage from those fighting type attacks. Instead, Psychic is this Medicham's only option. No shield brings it straight down into the yellow, and an immediate switch, which makes sense, as Shadow Ball would have done so much damage to that Psychic type Pokemon.
This is a very aggressive Shadow Ball, and it does get protect shielded up by Lamy there, wanting to retain some HP on that Sableye and carry into the next matchup, because they're still not sure where that third Pokemon will be. And it turns out Altaria takes to the skies.
Yeah, and this is exactly where Altaria wanted to be for the time being. That Moonblast is going to be super effective damage against this Sableye, provided the Altaria can get to it. It's such a costly move energy-wise, even though Altaria uses Dragon Breath to get energy quickly. It just takes so much time.
It absolutely does, but those Dragon Breaths are dealing a lot of damage as well, as Sableye has already fallen into the yellow range for HP. Maybe a double Sky Attack could be the recipe for success, but the Altaria is also getting pretty low. These foul plays are not playing around as the Sky Attack does get triggered here.
Yeah, the Sableye does still have one shield available to it, and Lamy opts to take it here, which makes sense as that Medicham, you know, that's always going to be a knockout no matter what. Foul play prompting the final shield from Roots, and now we're down to really the end of this game with that Altaria just barely hanging on, trying to go for those Dragon Breath for the knockout, so they had the chance for later, but they just did not get to it.
That was so critical as well. If Altaria can secure that knockout and then land the Sky Attack against the Medicham, that entire game could have been flipped, but unfortunately unable to reach that target attack there, does eventually fall to that Sableye.
So going into game 2 now, as these trainers think about their adjustments, we saw the Sableye do a ton of work for Lamy. We saw the Altaria find the alignment it was looking for, but just did not manage to find the KO. It needed more time, more energy to get to that Moonblast. I want to say the adjustment for Roots is you maybe don't rely on that Pokemon. As cool as it was to see it, it had everything in its favor except the energy.
Exactly right, and sometimes the mind games really come into play here. If you've scared off the Altaria, it really frees up the rest of your team. Maybe you can bring Pokemon that are weak to flying type charge attacks, or weak to Dragon Breath. Maybe those Pokemon are more free now to hit the field. I think Trevenant, for example, could be very powerful here in game 2.
And Trevenant is also one of those Pokemon that has just done consistently well throughout this Open Go Battle League competitions. You know, we've seen it, I think, since the beginning of the regional championships for Pokemon Go, and even in the European International Championships, all the way back in, what, April that was?
Oh my goodness,
So if you're going to make an adjustment, you might as well, you know, make it to a very consistent Pokemon. Has a lot of potential against Lamy's team. But on Lami's side of the field, you know, you came out of that match pretty comfortably. Do you make any switch-ups, or do you just run the same 6 or 3 again and hope for the best?
That's always the right question. I say that you never want to chase leads. You never want to chase a team that you just saw, because if you do kind of fall into that trap, it can become predictable over time. However, if your opponent doubles down on that team and you make the correct adjustments, you can really align yourself for success. So I'd be very interested to see if the same team, the same Pokemon do show up here, because again, sometimes a trainer thinks they've scared away in Altaria. They think it's very safe to bring maybe a Medicham and Sableye team again, but then it falls backwards. We also did see that Medicham does not have access to Ice Punch. There is no outlet to deal super effective damage, and this trainer was able to manage that Trevenant last game, but it might not be the same outcome the next time. We did see that Psychic connect with the Trevenant, lost a lot of HP, and then the Sableye came in, correctly shielded a Shadow Ball. I mean, if you're kind of checking the boxes of all the things you need to go right, things went really well in that matchup, and you can't always guarantee that it's that clean in Game 2.
Yeah, it's a very tough call to make. Again, these trainers' tournament lives are on the line here. They have one opportunity to qualify for the World Championships, and this is it. If you don't make it today, then that's it. You have to wait till next year. Fortunately, it's not too long of a wait, as we already have the Regional Championship Series starting back up again in September. Check out Pokemon.com/play for more information on that. But still, like, you want to be part of the festivities. You want to be part of the hype. You know, like you mentioned, so many trainers just booked a flight to solely come here for this experience. You know, you really want to capitalize on that.
Exactly right. I mean, every moment in time only happens once, and you really need to capture that moment and make the most of it whenever you can. Don't lose yourself in the moment. You have to stick here and be present. Now, we have our trainers locked in. The other one is about ready to go. Let's see how this next game unfolds. Actually, we're going to take a step back here, maybe a little bit more time to evaluate the teams. So, Gabby, if you are in no real Roots situation, is there one key Pokemon that you'd really love to bring? Are you committed to that Altaria?
It's tough because I see the Registeel. I want to bring the Registeel. I'm a very simple Pokemon Go player. But given the fact that there's the Medicham and the Swampert and the Nidoqueen on Lami's side of the field, I don't feel like that's a viable out. And, you know, I'm trying to figure out, like, how would I craft this team around the Altaria to guarantee its success? And without a Pokemon like Registeel or Walrein with that added bulk, I think that it's going to be very difficult for Altaria to find the time on the field. Maybe the adjustment you make is you bring the same Pokemon, but you leave that Altaria instead. But it looks like these trainers had a different thing in mind as we go into this game too. Shadow Nidoqueen versus Medicham as the lead non-Altaria inside.
I really do like this Shadow Nidoqueen lead here for our trainer on the right, Lami, because it is very neutral in a lot of these matchups. As we see the Medicham taking a lot of damage, and we do see the Poison Fang coming through here from the Nidoqueen, and we see an early Protect Shield as well. This is doubly bad.
Yeah, Medicham will be able to do super effective damage against this Nidoqueen with either the Ice Punch or the Psychic, but Lami throwing that Poison Fang on charge move, priority, getting this Poison Fang to connect first, no shield, and another defense drop on that Medicham will get the opportunity to attack this turn, but Roots really needs to think about switching out that Pokemon so it doesn't just get KO'd.
You can definitely guarantee a Protect Shield there because both of those attacks will do super effective damage, but Medicham just withering under those Poison Fangs. And we do see the switch into the Medicham. We're in a familiar position. We did see the Medicham mirror match just for a few moments in Game 1. We see it come out here in Game 2. No defense drop as well, but this time the Trevenant comes out to play. Do we land another Psychic 2 games in a row?
Well, there's the Psychic from Lami, and there's the no shield from Roots. So the answer is yes. That Trevenant is already knocked down into the yellow. Does get to a Shadow Ball on time, but it's going for the Shadow Claw on down and just barely misses it by a second.
This is a high-level play because the Medicham did gather enough energy for an Ice Punch and threatens away the Protect Shield with a Power Punch. What a great genius block here by our trainer on the right.
Lami able to get that shield away from Roots. As a result, this Trevenant is now stuck on the field, does have a decent amount of energy and will be able to throw the Seed Bomb into the Shadow Nidoqueen, but does not have a second available to it, which is, I think, the key thing to keep in mind here, as that will fail to KO.
And what an amazing call. It actually calls that Seed Bomb on the first go, and now we see the Walrein come out. This is great because now you drain that Trevenant of energy, you can bring in the Walrein, and you're very flexible. However, the Trevenant cannot get to another charge attack, and there is a Steel-type Registeel waiting in the wings, and here it is.
And that's the alignment you want. Your opponent is unable to switch. You're able to use those lock-ons to get a ton of energy and eventually throw a zap cannon. Unfortunately, this Earthquake will connect first, not guaranteed to knock out, but certainly is a 2-hit knockout if it's able to get to it, instead opting for the Focus Blast.
I just want to emphasize how close this ending is going to be. This finish is going to be one that you want to take a picture of and frame it. We do see the super effective Focus Blast come through. Here comes the Nidoqueen against the Medicham. It's got no energy. Nidoqueen consumes with the Poison Fangs, looking to finish this matchup, reaching for the Earth Power and gets it.
Oh, that was so close. Is that Registeel was so close to lock on to knock out that Nidoqueen, but instead Lami able to hold on and take this.
अगर ये स्विच नहीं करता जीत जाता यार ये। इनने जो स्विच कैच करने की कोशिश करी हमारी वाली हरकत इनने कर दी यार, और हमारी तरह ये भी पेल दिया गया। खत्म। हरी भाई अगर ये खाली लो कॉन फार्म डाउन के लिए जाता और उसके बाद एंड में काउंटर निकालता तो अर्थक्वेक से वो एनर्जी खाली हो चुकी होती। आई थिंक स्विच नहीं करना था यार, है ना। कोई नहीं बंदा अच्छा खेला राइट वाला यार, जब ही जीता है। अब हमको जीतना है। 2 मैच जीत पाएंगे क्या हम? उम्मीद बहुत कम। सही कह रहे हो, उसको एनर्जी दे दिया यार। और हक्काम ओ ड्रैगन टेल देखो सुपर इफेक्टिव नहीं दिखती है, पर डैमेज देख रहे हो कितनी पड़ रही है। ऐसे ही होता है यार, स्टेज पे जाके बंदा अलग लेवल पे खेलता है, अलग ही होती है यार घबराहट वगैरह सब कुछ। शील्ड मिल जाए यार, इसकी मजा आ जाएगा ना। नहीं मजा नहीं आएगा भाई, खत्म खेल, गेम ओवर भाई, गेम ओवर। निकाल गया भाई, वापस से 2300 पे आ गया यार ऋतुराज भाई। बट मैं एक चीज़ तो समझ गया हूँ, एक चीज़ तो समझ गया मैं यार, कि हमको लीड पे क्या चलाना है। अगला सेट पॉजिटिव निकलेगा अपना पक्का, नहीं निकला तो फिर वही 2200 तक जाएंगे। विद 5-0 वेटरन पहुंच गए क्या? बढ़िया यार। अगला मैच किसका है वैसे? 2 का है क्या? अरे यार बसबूल आ गया। नहीं अभी तो पता नहीं है भाई। ऋतुराज भाई आप हो गया? बकबाज सुपर पार क्या मारोगे? हाँ मैं ही हूँ एरन भाई, ठीक है भाई। नाम पीछे करके देखना पड़ेगा यानी। ये इमोजी बहुत खतरनाक लगता है यार इसका। क्या मचैम्प पे क्या, मैंने देखा भी नहीं। फाइटर ओनली है जो भी है मचैम्प। मचैम्प का क्लोज कॉम्बैट पड़ेगा तो गंदा। क्रॉस चॉप रेंज में ले आएगा ये हमको शायद। बूम, नहीं ला पाया। वी आर नॉट इन द क्रॉस चॉप रेंज बट ही इज इन द एरियल एस रेंज। क्या ये एरियल एस आएगा? हमको ज़्यादा माइनस खाने से हो जाएगा। एंड लेट्स गो भाई, बजवुल टीम को हरा दिया भाई हमने। लेट्स गो, मैच स्टार्ट हो रहा है भाई। मूल्य आ गया भाई। अभी हम 2380 पे हैं, शायद हम 2380 हैं। देखते हैं वापस पहुंच पाते हैं क्या हम 2400, बट उससे पहले देख के आते हैं मैच। मैच स्टार्ट होने वाला है यार एक मैच वो निकाल देते यार हम ऋतुराज।
It's an interesting pick as it does give Stone Collection's team some great type resistance, you know, that Sableye as well as we've seen so far, but especially with the combination of Registeel and
Shadow
Umbreon, you
Ninetales,
really want to make sure you have an out
Stone
against
Collection,
those fighting type Pokemon, and
Umbreon,
you know, even if you're unable to you know, hit the fighting type Pokemon super effectively,
Medicham तो दोनों लाने वाले हैं। Sableye भी शायद, Sableye का पता नहीं। Sableye ऊपर वाला रहेगा। Medicham, Sableye और Umbreon लग रहा है, पता नहीं।
You know, Skarmory is a flying steel type Pokemon.
Registeel तो मत ही लाओ यार अगर Ninetales है तो।
The occasional rogue electric type move, but
दो इस बैग नहीं, दो नहीं
gives
है
Stone
हरी भाई।
Collection's team some nice options in terms of being able to pivot into things and gain switch advantage. It's a
अगर
very
एक सेट अगला ऋतुराज भाई अच्छा निकाल देते हैं ना,
It does have some
तो अपना हाईएस्ट हो जाएगा इस
favorable matchups across the board. What I always look for again in teams is what is there, and then pay equal attention to what is lacking in this team. And we see Stone Collection with no grass type Pokemon on the team. There's no Trevenant, no Venusaur, and as we look over down there to Matt's team,
मेरे को भी लगा था भाई, मेरे को भी जैसे मैंने देखा ना, पर जब मैंने नाम पढ़ा मैट लिखा हुआ है तो मैं एकदम समझ गया। मुझे भी लगा था शुरू में।
Powerful, but this Samurott again, it might kind of exert its influence in this matchup. Maybe landing these neutral Hydro Cannons over and over again will finally kind of whittle down these Pokemon like a rock and river over time.
Skarmory की तो कहीं जगह नहीं है। Medicham भी ठीक ठाक, Medicham ही पिटेगा, Sableye भी पिटेगा, Sableye, Registeel, Ninetales, Swampert, Wildermane सब पिटेगा भाई। Skarmory तो लाना बेकार है।
I think that bug typing is a really interesting option to have in the GO Battle League because there's just not a lot of Pokemon that get access to it. You know, we've seen Araquanid. I believe there's also been some Ariados that have made appearance in competitive formats throughout the years. But still, it's a Samurott. You know, it's a water-type Pokemon. It doesn't have to worry about being out on the field against the Shadow Kanto Ninetales like some other bug Pokemon would have to worry about.
No, you're exactly right. We have seen other bug-type Pokemon like Galvantula and Beedrill come out to play as well. But those Pokemon tend to lack a lot of things. They tend to lack a lot of stamina. They take super effective damage from rock-type attacks. There's from fire as well in most cases. There's a lot of obstacles to those Pokemon succeeding. But with a Pokemon like Samurott, even against a dark-type like Umbreon, we don't see an Umbreon here in this particular matchup, but that's another favorable situation that this Samurott could find itself in if Stone Collection continues to advance. One more point I wanted to make is about these competitors. Stone Collection did compete at the European International Championships, and for this trainer, this is a second shot at getting into the World Championships. And this Samurott, you know, it's one thing, guys, to win the World Championships. It's another thing to win.
Yeah, that's really sort of establishing yourself on the field. I mean, I think we all may have heard of Jason Parkin and Pachirisu, but for now, we're hearing about the Registeel and Metachamp these two trainers as we get this game started.
This is very interesting. You're going to deal a lot of super effective damage with the counters, as we've seen time after time, but Metacham, without access to Power-Up Punch or Dynamic Punch, can't deal any super effective damage, so seeing a no Protect Shield here would not surprise me, and that's exactly what we get.
Yeah, that Psychic is resisted, and it just does 0 damage, giving Matisse the opportunity to go for that Zap Cannon and drop the Metacham's attack down one stage and have it stick, which is something you don't see that often.
Exactly. When you leave in a Pokemon like this, it kind of sends a signal. Maybe your trainer is weak to that Pokemon in the back as well. We just see the Samurott hit the field against the Sableye.
Yeah, Sableye throwing the foul play against that Samurott, but Stone Collection more than happy to go for that first shield against it, trying to charge up that energy, already at 2 Hydro Cannons, and goes for the throw.
Here comes the first Hydro Cannon. This is over the Mega Horn energy requirement, so we might see a Protect Shield, and we do not, as the Hydro Cannon does connect, and now the Sableye reaches the foul play. Do we see a double Protect Shield situation? Yes, we do.
I mean, that's the signature Pokemon. You want to protect it and keep it out on the field for as long as possible, especially when you're not sure what Matisse brought in the back. That is going to be knocked out by that Registeel,
and this is so tricky. You are down 0-2 shields with your Stone Collection, but you have so much energy. And here comes the Registeel, and it's almost out of energy as well. We see the Samurott starting to deploy all of this energy it's stored, and here comes the first Hydro Cannon. Will this be enough to KO? And it is not quite enough.
It's not quite enough, and that Shadow Swampert comes out onto the field to start putting on some offense. But he still has 2 shields available to him. We'll go for that first shield against this Hydro Cannon, but Stone Collection already has quite a comfortable lead, and now Sableye's back out onto the field to threaten that Swampert with some foul plays.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Red is the key word here, trying to apply a lot of pressure to the Swampert. We know it's the Shadow variant. He cannot really absorb a foul play plus the Shadow Claw, so he's really trying to, I guess, put Swampert in a position where it needs to choose its shielding carefully, and we do see the first shield come up here from the foul play. Also sweep these other Pokemon in the back.
It already has 1 Hydro Cannon available to it, going for a second Hydro Cannon and throwing it just a split second before that foul play became available.
This is where your attack stat knowledge is critical. We know the Samurott does have a charge attack. Priority over the
that Hydro Cannon is going to do enough damage to knock out that Swampert, so it'll just be
क्या ही टीम लगी है यार स्टोन कलेक्शन क्या ही मस्त टीम लगी है अबे यार अगर थोड़ी सी एनर्जी होती एंड में भी क्लच हो गया था यार क्या क्लोज मैच
ओ भाई ओ भाई खतरनाक can almost guarantee you that was not a Pokemon that many trainers were prepared to see this weekend.
I was just going to say, you know, you go through the drills, you have repetitions, you have practice.
Hero of the battle पूरा भाई पूरा मैच पेल गया यार अरे भाई Sableye को भी एंड में भाई स्वीप ऑलमोस्ट स्वीप कर गया यार नितिन भाई ये बंदा अपनी खुद की सोर्ड बना सकता है Samurott sweep an entire team in Pokemon World Championship qualifier खतरनाक.
But another challenge of facing a one-turn fast attack user like Samurott
Rezi जिंदा था भाई Samurott OP और क्या यूज करा हमने.
That's the shortest turn interval, so it's
very hard भाई काट दिया भाई.
It's very hard to time your switches.
Sableye को तो काट दिया भाई.
It's very hard to escape the power of Samurott.
Yeah, I
feel
Shadow
आ जाए ये फिर कितना गंदा डैमेज देगा फास्ट
go up against that Samurott and hope that foul play or return would be enough for the KOs, but Stone Collection was so comfortable going for those shields there to keep it safe and then even remove it from the field for later. I feel like the Sableye just wasn't enough, and it really has to be a play style adjustment here. Which just brings up the question, you know, how do I force the Swampert out onto the field, and then how do I get that
क्या लगता है कौन जीतेगा यार चलो हो जाए भाई Stone Collection या मैट मैं कह रहा हूँ यार Stone Collection कह रहा हूँ पहली बार में यार मैट वापसी कर सकता है पर Stone भाई मेरी तरफ से Stone.
Exactly right. If you can apply enough bench pressure, you can kind of dissuade that Ninetales from hitting the field, and you force your opponent into neutral or disadvantageous
कर जाए तो अच्छा यार वापसी.
And then your skill ceiling
but ये बंदे ने क्या ही गलत वो
saw Stone
पूरा कोर ब्रेकर है इस पे
very
यार
comfortable with that Samurott.
चलो स्टार्ट
And we
होता
are
है,
heading
लीड
into
मिलती है
game number
अच्छी
2 here. We do see the
किसी को नहीं
stabilize on
न्यूट्रल
the
मजा
field.
आएगा
Talk about neutral matchups.
न्यूट्रल लीड है भाई मजा
neutral
आएगा यार
matchups and the perfect
Samurott
opportunity to get
Medicham
some
उधर है
energy for
अरे
later
भाई
on
साहब
in the match as these
खतरनाक
Sableye
मैच हो
are
सकता
more
है
than happy to go for those Shadow Claws. Looks like Stone Collection throws the foul play first into a Protect shield.
Yeah, we do see that first Protect shield get used here, and again, it tells us a lot about these trainers' intentions, what they're predicting in the
अभी ये
backlines,
double
and
CM
how
पे
they
जीत
want to
जाएगा
play out
यार
the rest of this matchup. We do see a foul play get fired off
दूसरी
here.
बार भी
The
जीत
next
जाएगा
one
ये
will be a charge room priority, maybe trusting in that Sableye. Matses is trying it to let it go first here.
एकदम
Or
थ्रो एकदम
possibly
थ्रो
just trying to bank that
बढ़िया।
foul play for later so that it is
नहीं कर
ready
पाया
against
और
the
वो CMP
Samurott,
भी
but
जीत गया
instead
यार
Stone Collection Sableye able to attack
गलत हुआ ये
first.
तो
Yeah, losing the charge room priority is really tough here, but it's going to hang on with just a bit of HP. We do see the next foul play get deployed
क्या
here.
ही CMP
Not
निकाला
trying to play for switch advantage. This is also very instrumental in kind of
हरी भाई
deducing
पत्थर
what this trainer is
मुझे
trying
लगा
to do.
पौधा
Stone Collection is fine. Gathering energy, but he won't let him. He switches right into Swampert. He says, no way. Samurott with energy was too tough
एक
last
मेगा
game.
राउंड में ना
Yeah, these
खत्म है
two
स्वयंपट
Hydro
भाई
Cannon users
खत्म
now facing off, and the
एक
Samurott
मेगा राउंड में
throws
खत्म
the
है डायरेक्ट
Mega
जा रहा है और
Horn
ये उसके
for
लिए
this
भाई
turn. Matsis has a very tough
खत्म
call
कर दिया
here
भाई
and does
स्टोन
not go
कलेक्शन
for
ने
the
यार
shield.
Oh my
Boom,
gosh, all
almost
that
boom
damage.
कर दिया भाई।
Swampert is barely still on the field, but it's going to return fire with a deadly attack of its own. This time, though, Stone Collection is using that final Protect shield.
But had both
क्या
shields
ही लक
available
भी
to him
अच्छा
in
था
this
और
matchup, which
खेला ही
again
बढ़िया
just
है ये
makes
बंदा
this so comfortable for that
बताओ
Samurott,
सैबलाई
able
कहाँ
to use
जाए
the fast move,
रेजिस्टिल
pick
कहाँ
up the
जाए
KO on
कुछ
that
पता नहीं
Swampert
भाई
and bring Matsis down to his final 2 Pokemon.
बैक टू बैक जैप कैनन करने पड़ेंगे यार उसके बाद कैच भी करना पड़ेगा फिर भी कुछ नहीं होगा
And this Samurott is back on the
फिर भी
field.
कुछ नहीं
He
होगा
does have a
यार
Protect shield to hide behind, and look at this energy generation. Samurott striking
रिडीम कोड
already.
में क्या है टाइम
Yeah,
रिसर्च
the
मिल
one thing I
गई
have to wonder
3
for
स्टार
Stone
पीस
Collection is, do you keep the
और
Samurott
एंड में
on
रेड
the
पास
field,
मिल
or
रहा है
do you
इसमें
try and switch as Matisse
एक आज मिली
currently
एक कल
into the
मिलेगी
Registeel,
सारे
but that
रिडीम
switch
कोड
timer
सेम
is
है
going to be up
एक मिलेगा
real shortly.
कोई सा
And
भी
again,
रिडीम
I
कर लो एक ही
emphasize
मिलेगा
how difficult
और
it
एक से
is to
टी शर्ट
predict when
मिलेगी
these
गेम
Hydro
में
Cannons are coming. It's
अगर
very,
नहीं
very
करा है तो
tough
कर लो
to predict these one-turn fast attacks. The first one does bounce off of that Registeel, but here comes a Focus Blast as well. Throwing the Focus Blast,
shield.
not dealing super effective damage, trying to optimize the energy. No shield. Samurott does get KO'd though, finally.
ग्लास ही है ये है
Unfortunately, that Medicham
अबे यार
is
खत्म है
right
मैच यार
behind it
कोई
and going
चांस
to
ही
do
नहीं लग रहा यार
super
इधर तो
effective fast
बस
move
एक
damage
zap आ
to
जाए
that Registeel, and Stone
वो
Collection
shield कर
has
ले
a shield
उसका
available,
नेट
but
चला
not
जाए
going for it.
Deciding not to use
और
protection.
सर्वर
Stone
क्रैश हो
Collection
जाए
remembers how much energy that
टूर्नामेंट
Sableye
कैंसिल
does
हो
have
जाए
for Matches,
सब
and
एक
he's
साथ
going
हो
to
जाएगा
predict that it
तो
can't
कुछ
get to
पता
the
नहीं यार
attack, and he is right. Late game counting really pays off there for Stone Collection.
It does.
हाँ भाई वही है
Matsis
कल भी टाइम रिसर्च
currently
मिलेगी
trying
अलग
to
वाली
get to
और
that
आज
final
भी
charge move to deal some damage,
जी
but
भाई
does
स्टोन
not
कलेक्शन
have enough time.
खतरनाक
Stone
मैच निकाल
Collection
के
able to pick up the KO
चलते
with
हैं
those
हमारी।
fast moves and again win this set 2-0.
यार एक मिनट कोड आया क्या
So many decisive sets.
ये
You
नया
know, the
कोड आया
games
यार
are
ये
close,
किसी
but
को
there's
चाहिए
just
तो एक
been
बार
so
मिल जाना यार
many 2-0
हनी भाई
victories today.
ऋतु
There
राय भाई
really
कोई
have
मिल
been,
गया
and if you are a trainer in this competition, that definitely gives you some
5Z4
confidence. You know that you can walk into this
RD
competition against some of the best trainers from Europe and beyond and still win 2-0.
कल एक और
I
आएगा
think that's
कोड
a
उसमें
huge
एक और टाइम
confidence
रिसर्च
boost going
होगी
into the rest of this tournament,
अभी
and
तो ये है
also
यार
the real Worlds competition that is launching tomorrow morning. My goodness, I can't wait.
I know, especially knowing that you
टोटल
made it
कितने मैच
through
होंगे आप
such
तो
a
क्वालिफायर
difficult
है एक तरह से यार
tournament
कल
to
से
compete
खेलेंगे
at day
सब
one of the
खतरनाक
World
बंदे और
Championships.
ज्यादा जो ऑलरेडी
Immediately
क्वालिफाइड है
before the day one of the World
अरे भाई कर देना
Championships
यार
is
वो
a
तो हाँ अरे
confidence
भाई
booster, and that's definitely something that you cannot sell short as
या फिर मैं
when you're
इसको
playing
वो
so
कर देता हूँ
many
ना
days
कोई
of
मांगेगा तो
Pokemon. You
जब
know,
कर
you have
देंगे
the
इसको मैं
LCQ, then we
unpin
have
कर
day
देता हूँ
one,
क्या
and then
बोलते
we
हो
have day two, our final day of competition. That just takes so much stamina in order to be able to play through and in order to be able to keep thinking and keep those fast moves all locked up and ready to go. So you really just need every little mental advantage you need, and confidence is a huge one.
I was actually debating that before we started this. I said, if
दो को
I
कर रहा
was
यार
not
मैं
in the
टैक्टिकल
casting
जाना
booth, if
चाहिए
I was actually competing today, would I really want to compete in the last chance
क्वालिफाई कर
qualifier
जाए
and
अपना
then
दो
go on to
उसके
Worlds?
बाद
Because
देखेंगे
the
भाई उसके बाद
competition
तो
only
किंग है
becomes more steep.
फिर से
You're
जीत
facing
जाए मजा
former
आएगा
regional champions, former international champions. That's such a
I am
tough
with
hill to
Rise,
climb, and if you've already
Ritturaj
kind of
bhai, with
expended your
Rise.
mental energy, you
मैं
need to
यार
get a
अगर
lot of
दो
rest,
पहुंचता है तो
drink
दो
a lot of
बजाता हूँ
water, and as tempting as it is to try
अगर
to
दो
catch all
पहुंचता है
these
तो
wild Pokemon in the arena today,
वरना
you
किंग
might need to go to bed a little bit early.
राइज
Yeah,
फेवरेट
it's
है अपना
definitely a
भाई
marathon, not a
बहुत सही
sprint.
है
You know, this is one of those events
किंग
where
यार
you have
लेगेसी
to pace
मेंटेन करे
yourself.
बड़ा ही
You
मेहनत
have to
करता करता है
sure
यार
that you're taking care
फिटनेस
of
से लेके
yourself.
उनने मतलब
Staying
हर चीज
hydrated,
देखा उनने
which is
क्या
very
मतलब
difficult as it's very humid
पहले से
here.
कितना वो हो गया यार मतलब फिट हो गया यार बहुत बढ़िया बंदा है हर जगह मतलब बहुत मेहनत करता है यार वो फिर उसका कंटेंट देखो 2-3 घंटे बोलने में ऐसी तैसी हो जाती है वो एक 1.5 घंटे की वीडियो डालता है भाई फिर ट्विच पे स्ट्रीम भी करता है भाई गलत है यार, बंदा बहुत मेहनत करता है, और भी लोग करते हैं पर। अरे भाई ये रहा कोड, ओके मैं पिन मार दूंगा, कोई पूछेगा ना एकदम उस टाइम पे। अभी तो एक सेट और खेलते हैं। कितना माइनस लगेगा हमको? 2390। हाँ एकदम, मैं 91 बोलने वाला था, 90 पे रुक गया मैं। अगर ये सेट पॉजिटिव जाता हम 2400 वापस आ सकते हैं। क्या हम वापस से 2400 आ सकते हैं? अगर नहीं जा सकते तो मैं खेलना छोड़ दूंगा यार, क्योंकि मैं बहुत डाउन जाता हूँ। 360 पे क्लियर नहीं था। हाँ हो सकता है, सही कह रहे हो। उस पर क्या है? स्टोन एज, रॉक टॉम, क्लोज कॉम्बैट, मेगा हॉर्न, क्या क्या आता है इसको? रॉक ब्लास्ट, गैलेंडोला, वेलरन, क्रेजेलिया। हाँ बढ़िया, ग्रेट लीग में बूम। मैं यार ये चला रहा हूँ क्योंकि फाइटिंग कप है तो मज़ा आ रहा है मेरे को कप में, जो भी है ठीक है। दो 5-0 दिलवाया इसने ग्रेट लीग में। क्या ग्रेट का नाम ने? क्या ही कॉल किया बंदे ने, बढ़िया, क्या बढ़िया कॉल किया इसने। एक हमें भाई पढ़ भी नहीं रहे कि पीछे है क्या। क्या ही गंदा कैच करने का कोशिश, गंदा कोशिश था यार। यही कोशिश उसने करी थी। अरे भाई वो हार गया था और यहाँ पर हम हार गए। ओ बच गए भाई, गंदी कोशिश के बाद भी। लेट्स गो भाई, लाइक कर देना यार। 25 क्रॉस करते हैं, सुबह की स्ट्रीम का तोड़ते हैं रिकॉर्ड यार। आज देखना है, फाइनल देख के जाएंगे यार स्ट्रीम 2 का। अब देखते हो ना, जानते हो ना 2 को यार। अगर कोई नहीं जानता तो यार यूट्यूब पे सर्च कर लेना, 2 टैक्टिकल यार, बढ़िया बंदा है। सस्ता सैक्रिफाइस, मैच तो शुरू नहीं हुआ ना, एकदम कर दिया हो कभी? नहीं अभी तो नहीं गया है। इनकी 1-2 हज़ार तो चल रही है यूट्यूब पे वॉचिंग, ठीक है। सैक स्वैप, अच्छा कैच, जिसे हम कैच कहते हैं वही ना। इनकी अगर ये 1-2 हज़ार और वहाँ पहुँच जाए यार, मैं बता रहा हूँ फाइनल में किंग और राइज हुए ना ऋतुराज भाई, 50,000 भी पहुँच जाए तो कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है, पहुँच सकती है। 50,000 भी वॉचिंग पहुँच जाएगी इनकी ट्विच पर, अगर राइज और किंग अगर फाइनल में हुए ना भाई। सही में भाई गलत हो जाएगा, सीन गलत ही हो जाएगा। और हार्ड हिटिंग मूव के लिए जाएंगे ना यार, देखते हैं शील्ड करेगा बाउंड या नहीं। बूम, बढ़िया, शील्ड मत करो पाजी। राइज और किंग है ना, मजा आ जाएगा भाई, बहुत तगड़ा। जैसे 2019 में हुआ था ना किंग वर्सेस AK भाई, वो भी बहुत सही था। मैंने पहला टूर्नामेंट ये देखा था जब मैंने जीवल खेलना शुरू किया। मैं कहा यार इसके टूर्नामेंट भी होते हैं, देखा वही है भाई। मैं कहा भाई होते हैं, होते तो हैं। ठीक है भाई। उस टाइम डियोक्सिस को नर्फ नहीं था। मतलब क्या चेंज क्या था उस टाइम पे? और काउंटर नहीं था क्या, मतलब बैटरी लो। यही दिक्कत होती है एंड्रॉइड में। अब ओवर हीट हो गया यार ऋतुराज भाई, अब स्ट्रीम फिर उसके बाद बंद हो जाती है ओवर हीट हो गया यार। काउंटर नहीं था या क्या सीन था भाई? नहीं स्टार्ट मत हो, उधर बैटल स्टार्ट हो गई है। ओए भाई जल्दी से करते हैं, वो एक बैटल मिस हो जाएगी शायद इस बार, मेरे को नहीं पता था। इतनी जल्दी कर देंगे, पर हो सकता है मैं भी जल्दी निपटा दूँ, है ना। 2 मैच तो देख लेंगे यार, टेंशन की बात नहीं है। हो सकता है 2.5 भी देख लें अभी तो, क्योंकि अभी तो बस दिखा रहे हैं वो क्या चल रहा है। सब बढ़िया, ऐसा है। साइको बूस्ट पे ऐसा था सही में? ऐसा ही रजिस्ट्री पे करने वाले, सुनने में आ रहा है, पता है? ऐसा ही रजिस्ट्री पे करने वाले, सुनने में आ रहा है। क्लोज कॉम्बैट गलत हो गया यार, खेल खत्म। एंड तक जाएं या फिर मैच देखने चलें? उधर वेलरेन इनटू वेलरेन चल रहा है उधर, एंड तक जाते हैं, चलो कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। एक मैच तो चलेगा। मेरे को नहीं पता था, इस बार काफ़ी जल्दी कर दिया। इनका टाइम भी चल रहा है क्या? पोके ने यूज़ किया था, हाँ हो सकता है भाई। वो तो फिर साइको बूस्ट मार मार के पागल कर देता होगा। एपिक मैच होंगे, लंबी स्ट्रीम करेंगे। अगर स्ट्रीम क्रैश नहीं हो रही भाई, लंबी स्ट्रीम करेंगे, कोई दिक्कत नहीं यार। हाँ रे भाई, अपने पे डबल सील्ड है, बट एक फास्ट मूव का गेम आ गया यार, इसलिए गड़बड़ हो गई है। 1 2 3 4 5 कर दे यार। ओ लीव कर गया, लेट्स गो। या फिर वो फार्म डाउन हो जाता है यार, एक काउंटर में कोमो नहीं मारता यार, ड्रैगन टाइपिंग है भाई। लेट्स गो भाई, लेट्स गो, मजा आ गया क्या? 3 शील्ड फ्लैक्स। मैं 10 मिनट में खाना खा के आता हूँ। बिल्कुल हरी भाई, खाना वाना खा के आओ, फिर फाइनल देखेंगे। फाइनल अब ज्यादा दूर नहीं लग रहा मेरे को।
Icicles was banked for later, and Ewok also going for an undercharge.
Going for an undercharge, recognizing that they don't need the full.
वैसे देखा है ऋतुराज भाई, हम 5 सेट मिस कर देते हैं जब हम यहाँ आते हैं 5-0 पर देखते हैं क्या पता चलेगा। उस टाइम का ब्रोकन ओवन था, अब डियोक्सिस की ज़्यादा नहीं करने चाहिए पहले है डियोक्सिस को। मैं तो अब भी करता हूँ। अल्ट्रा लीग में डियोक्सिस का तोड़ नहीं है यार मेरे साथ, ग्रेड में भी नहीं अच्छे रैंक है, अल्ट्रा में भी नहीं। यार लिखते क्यों रहते हैं साथ साथ? मतलब लिखना ही पड़ता है क्या? इतने बज गए इतने सेकंड को उसने हमको पॉइजन फैंग मारा था, फिर मैंने सेम टाइप पे आइस पंच मारा। अच्छी बात है, जो भी है कुछ होगा ही। क्या ऐसा नहीं कह सकते हो कि बाद में
Nessa is now out of shields.
And we do see the wall rain in the back there, a potential switch in to catch a charge attack here. These trainers know their counts and their pacing. We see the poison thing come through, forced to shield this even though it's neutral damage because of that defense drop. Do we see a switch out here?
Not yet. Trying to get to the ice punch, does get it, but that wall rain swaps in to catch it.
Walrein absorbing this Ice Punch. We see no bubbles triggered there. Wanting to gather a couple of counters, and we see the emotion playing out on the stage. Again, the stakes are high, and these trainers hold themselves to the highest standards.
So Walrein, Medicham left on Ewok side of the field. Nessa has just that Shadow Nidoqueen remaining. Will get the opportunity to throw this poison thing, but Walrein, it's going to be a KO.
It's a knockout there. Walrein, unfortunately, is off the field, but the Shadow Nidoqueen triumphs. All hail the Shadow Nidoqueen there as it's able to win that matchup. Heading into game 2 here, that was very, very critical. Catching the Ice Punch, I really think saved this matchup. And that's another facet of Shadow Nidoqueen play, because every 5 poison jabs, you can queue up another Poison Fang. When your HP gets low, you're kind of forced to throw that Ice Punch as soon as you can gather that energy, and then you become predictable.
Yeah, and predictable is exactly where you
do not want to be in a game that not only goes by
so quickly, but has every single move count in it. Now, you want to have those elements of surprise. I mean, I was honestly surprised that we saw the Medicham on Ewok's side of the field not carrying the Psychic. I think that's very key information for Nessa moving forward into this game too. But, you know, I think really the onus is on Ewok to update their strategy, to make these adjustments, to try and figure out how they can position that better, because Nidoqueen just had the energy available, and that was the game.
Exactly right. I think this is also interesting because we haven't seen that second charge attack from the Medicham. Not revealing attacks can be very critical, because this is not just a 4-minute match and then the winner stays and the loser goes home. This is a best of 3. So as we continue through this matchup, you might see the Medicham hit the field against a Walrein, against a Lickitung, and land that super effective Dynamic Punch, which could swing that momentum equally as drastically as we saw that catch of the Ice Punch do in game number 1.
Both these trainers taking a moment to think and figure out the best way to approach this matchup. Now, one thing I do want to ask you about as we are getting ready for these trainers to get started, you know, we've seen this double water core do very well throughout the day today, and we have yet another 2 trainers going for it, both the Walrein and another water-type Pokemon. I'm very curious if you could sort of talk me through how you approach this matchup when you are also running that possible core and you see it on the opponent's side of the field. Is that something that you have to just immediately respect, or can you fudge it a little bit, because water-type Pokemon typically resist other water-type attacks?
Absolutely. I think it comes down to patience. A lot of trainers will come in, they're comfortable being in the Walrein mirror matchup with both Walreins on the field. They can predict when the Earthquake is coming. They know when to shield, when not to shield. And they're comfortable just playing that matchup out. But for me personally, I get a little bit uncomfortable. I want to happen. I want to accelerate the matchup a bit. I'm more prone to making switches and essentially kind of pinpoint when your opponent becomes uncomfortable when they make that first swap, when they make that first play. So yes, you can adopt that double water strategy, but
चीटिंग दबा के चल रही थी। फिक्स मूव से अटकते थे, लिखा होता था कि भाई मेरे 9 टेल्स पे जो है आइस सार्ड है या फिर जो भी है आइस टाइप मूव है, पाउडर स्नो है, और यूज करते थे चार्म। ऐसे चीटिंग चल रही थी यहाँ पे। नहीं पता, अब इसका होगा अगले साल पोर्टेड खेला था उस वो मतलब मैंने उससे कह दिया था एंड में भाई स्क्रीन शेयर का कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। तो एंड में क्या हुआ, किस्मत से स्क्रीन शेयर जब पोर्टेड ने करी मैंने स्क्रीन रिकॉर्ड कर दिया। उस बंदे ने क्या करा, कह दिया कि यार मेरे पास कोई प्रूफ नहीं है, पोर्टेड कह रहा था कि वो चार्म चला रहा था। उसने पोकेमॉन को जो भी वहाँ डिस्कॉर्ड वाले मैनेज कर रहे थे उनसे कह दिया था कि यार मैं ना पाउडर स्नो यूज कर रहा था और मैच में था ये चार्म वाला। भाई मैंने कहा रुक पोर्टेड कोई दिक्कत नहीं यार, रुक जा। मैंने क्या करा, स्क्रीन रिकॉर्डिंग खोली, स्क्रीनशॉट लिया, चार्म वाला भेज दिया, बंदा डिस्क्वालीफाई। पोर्टेड कह रहा भाई बचा रही है यार, बंदे ऐसे ऐसे हरकत कर रहे हैं।
So if you take just 1 extra second to switch in your Sableye, Trevenant gets the Shadow Ball first. And if you play a long matchup here where the water types are going at it repeatedly time, maybe you get a little bit too comfortable, your opponent makes a fast switch in there, you're just a half second or 1 second behind, that can spell the end of the match.
That's so hard to keep track of as well, because especially if it was a situation where Trevenant was on the field and then Trevenant left the field, you have to like bank that information for later. And if it's not there when you're trying to queue it back up, I don't think a half second is enough for me to access my memory banks. I don't know about you.
Exactly right. What I would like to emphasize as well is these trainers, especially later on in the matchup, if they throw their charge attack right before their opponent gets to theirs, they have definitely kept track of that energy. They've assigned a number. They remember that Walrein exited the matchup with 4 Powder Snows after throwing an Earthquake and an Icicle Spirit using 1 Protect Shield. They do the math in their head really quickly, and they know what to anticipate when that Pokemon returns. And it's a skill that you can always work on and try to improve. And if you're struggling in your own Go Battle League matches or in your Show 6 matches like the World Championships, you can always kind of find those areas of improvement and try to, maybe do practice battles with your friends. Maybe try to queue up and ask them how many Icicle Spears did you have stored? How many Powder Snows did you do? Did I miss something? Is there something I could have improved? I think, again, we're very community oriented. We always help each other, and it's always fair game to ask your friends, how can I improve as a trainer?
There's so much benefit as well to just recognizing, okay, my team has a very tough time playing against Trevenant, for example. Let's just keep running with this one. And ask your friends, like, hey, I need to just sit down and play 20 games where you leave Trevenant, you switch into this, and then you follow it up with, I don't know, a Registeel or something. Being able to just sort of have that
उसके बाद winner of loser bracket or loser of 126
if necessary for you can really make a difference, because when you are in 2 मैच जीतने हैं यार, कम से कम 2 तो जीतने ही हैं back to back. तो मतलब सब कोई जीतने हैं, पर kinetic muscle memory built in. It's so helpful to be able to run those lines, but for now this is a line that the Azumarill is very happy to see facing off against the Sableye. Instant switch into that Swampert.
Yeah, we saw Nezabethan reaching for that Swampert as soon as he saw that lead Pokemon, and we just see Shadow, Ground, and Water type Pokemon facing off against the Walrein, going straight for the Earthquake. I like these aggressive plays as well. Nezabethan trying to knock that Walrein off balance, but is not going to secure this connection here.
Yeah, but that Swampert only has to wait a couple more turns before it gets that energy right back, thanks to Mudshot's incredible ability to gain energy. Icicle Spear from this Walrein will connect with that Swampert and drop it straight down into the red, and that Walrein has another one banked up, ready to go.
Exactly. We see the Walrein deciding to throw this charge attack now because it does not want to let that Earthquake come through without first getting a Protect Shield, and it does even it up here by drawing away that Protect Shield. But here comes another Earthquake, and now this Walrein might get KO'd if this attack lands.
That Swampert just gathers energy so quickly.
Earthquake, one sword.
Going down does give Azumarill or that Medicham the opportunity to take the field and get a nice little chunk of energy before that Swampert is knocked out. That's assuming that Neza doesn't make a swap here to try and save that Swampert for later.
Does not decide to save it. I think the reason here is that they've got the alignment they wanted. They bring out that Poison type to start dealing super effective damage. Azumarill will try to fight back, but I'll tell you what, if that Medicham switches in, it's going to be
Nezabethan.
And the Medicham as well is not going to have a favorable matchup at this point in time, while this Nidoqueen is more than capable of throwing Poison Fang after Poison Fang, and such a tough call here to make. You don't want to shield the first one because you know the second one is just going to do even more damage thanks to that defense drop. Medicham swapping in, but like you said, Sableye right there.
Dynamic hai.
And we do see the Medicham deploying this neutral Ice Punch as well. This game is going to come down to energy management. This Azumarill needs to have a charge attack ready if it does face that Nidoqueen in the latter part of this matchup, and the Medicham really needs to do its best to punch its way through this Sableye, but it is a tall ask, especially when you only have 1 Protect Shield remaining.
But there is a shield on the field, which the Medicham will use to take this foul play and get to the Ice Punch. But if this misses the KO here, that Sableye should be able to get to another foul play prior to the Medicham getting to another attack.
I think what we're going to see here is a KO on the Medicham, and I think we're going to see this Azumarill come in, get 1 bubble of energy, and try to outpace the Nidoqueen to an Ice Beam, excuse me. You see the foul play connect on the Medicham. He undercharges, gets 1 more shot of simultaneous. Prevents the bubble from coming through. Expertly played.
And that Poison Fang was basically there and waiting for the one more fast move from that Nidoqueen, but is going to connect and will get KO. Just an incredible undercharge there, knowing exactly how much damage was needed to get it for that simultaneous knockout.
Next round
that was so close.
Incredibly close.
और close आ गए हैं अपने मैच के. मैं देखता हूँ इन्होंने अपडेट कराई क्या. घोस्ट पे आइस बैटर है पर वो डार्क भी है. पहली बात ऊपर से यार अरबाज भाई उस पे सेम टाइप बोनस नहीं है. डायरेक्ट पंच ऋतुराज भाई मुझे भी वही 1 शॉट कर देता, उसके बाद कुछ तो एनर्जी जाती है यार उसकी. आइस पंच आ जाता तो मजा आते यार. आई थिंक जाना चाहिए था, मुझे तो लगा यार, ट्राई कर लेता यार, क्या कर सकते हैं। पर जो भी है बढ़िया बंदे यार, वो हम क्या बोल सकते हैं, वो सारे हमसे तगड़े खेलने वाले हैं। मैं 1 मिनट आपके वो जो मैंने भेजा है मैं देख के आता हूँ यार। 2 का मैच उससे है यार, नोजो है, क्या नाम है पता नहीं, या फिर अभी होगा उसके बाद पहुँचेगा आगे वो। फुल ब्रैकेट नहीं देखूंगा मैं, क्योंकि मैं देखूंगा लूज़र ब्रैकेट। ये लूज़र ब्रैकेट चल रहा है ना यार। 64 प्लेयर्स डबल एलिमिनेशन, उसके नीचे ऐड, बढ़िया। दिख क्यों नहीं रहा यार, पता नहीं यार। अभी तो दिख रहा था यार। 2 का किससे मैच होगा यार। आई थिंक 2 मैच जल्दी जल्दी होंगे उसके यार। मेरे को शो नहीं हो रहा यार, अभी कुछ ग्लिच चल रहा है शायद ऋतुराज भाई। ओ भाई फार्म डाउन सेम ही करता है लगभग, थोड़ा सा ही ज़्यादा होगा ना। भाई मुझे लगा शील्ड करेगा, मैं तो एक तरह से अंडर चार्ज कर रहा था। आइस पंच ही बेस्ट था। हाँ पता नहीं यार, मुझको लगा डायनेमिक ज़्यादा बेस्ट था। अभी भी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, हमको काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें नहीं पता यार। आइस पंच होगा ना उस बांगड़ू पे, उस बांगड़ू पे आइस पंच है, उस बांगड़ू पे आइस पंच है, उस बांगड़ू पे आइस पंच है भाई। CMP था। एनर्जी तो ज़्यादा लगेगा, बट उस टाइम पे वो है ना, क्या कहते हैं, थोड़ी सी एनर्जी की भी बहुत वो है डिमांड यार उस टाइम पे। CMP, हाँ CMP हो गया था वो। 1 एंड 2 एंड जीजीज। वी आर गोइंग 2400 अगेन। मेरा 2403 था पहले का है शायद, अभी 2404 हो गया। देखते हैं हम 2404 को पीछे छोड़ पाते हैं या नहीं। मैंने अभी देखा पी वॉक में। आप पी वॉक पे कैसे देखते हो ऋतुराज भाई? लीड ओपी मेरे को भी लगा 45-50 पक्का मारेगा। यार आइस पंच में सेम टाइप बोनस नहीं है यार, ये सोच रहा हूँ मैं अभी भी। पहला शील्ड नहीं करूंगा आज मैं। कर भाई तू पप फायर पंच। बैटल सेक्शन में उनको लड़ाते हो क्या, ऐसा कुछ है? CMP शील्ड भी मिल गया, वो भी मिल गया, दोनों चीज़ मिल गई भाई। चलो स्ट्रीम तो वापस आई है बट आवाज कट रही होगी। चलो देखते हैं डिस्कॉर्ड पे यार, भाई चलना ही पड़ेगा यार। अब स्ट्रीम नहीं चल रही, ओवर हीट हो रहा है, कल फुल चार्ज कर देंगे। ओ हाईएस्ट हाँ चलते हैं यार, चलते हैं भाई। चलो मिलते हैं, स्ट्रीम बंद करते हैं। थैंक यू ऋतुराज भाई फॉर बीइंग देयर। जैसी का एक बार कोड दे देना ऋतुराज भाई, आप पे कॉपी पढ़ाओ तो। यू कैन ओनली यूज अ कोड वंस, just remember that there are several codes but you can only use one, and the other one was T-set one. कुछ glitch हो गया यार, बाद में मिलते हैं, ठीक है। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर वॉचिंग यार। अगर हो पाया ऋतुराज भाई तो आज 10 बजे करते हैं और 2 को देखेंगे भाई, और 2 का मैच मेरे हिसाब से जब ही होगा जब हम जाएंगे यार। अब बताओ क्या ही किस्मत है, अब हम जा रहे हैं, 2 का मैच शायद अभी होगा। नहीं है कोई दिक्कत नहीं यार, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। जैसे यू कैन चेक ट्विच एंड अदर स्ट्रीमर। अभी क्या करें यार, लैग हो रहा है, बहुत बुरा सिस्टम हो गया यार। वीसी में आ जाते हैं, ऐसे ही करते हैं, ऐसे ही करते हैं। आज के लिए बहुत हो गया यार, मोबाइल की ऐसी तेज हो गई है। रोटी वोटी खाता हूँ मैं ऋतुराज भाई, और फिर भी अगर लगता है किंग के मैच तक थोड़ा बहुत चार्ज हो जाए, किंग कह रहा हूँ यार, टैक्टिकल के तो देखते हैं, डिस्कॉर्ड पे आते हैं, नहीं तो यहाँ आते हैं, जो भी होगा देख लेंगे यार। चलो थैंक यू सो मच।